Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm Aurora. Today is September 26th. This is the Flying Rainbow Lasagna, and this is the presentation for Level 1, corresponding with Lesson 13 of Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans. So, over several weeks ago, I put a pause on the homework. We did about 4 homework assignments that were all about building an understanding of the basic chakra system or energy system of the body and the proportions. And the proportions are what I always paint, I'm painting, this is a painting that's printed on my shirt here. The proportions are like music theory, so that you can understand how time and the cosmos are structured, and so that you can better navigate the systems that you're seeing. It's also like understanding your own anatomy. That I know that human beings can just fly blind. That's when you're like, I don't know what this actually does, but I just kind of go around doing stuff and somehow it does its thing. Like, you don't know what your nose actually does. You don't know what your elbow actually does, but somehow, just like a wild feral animal, you lurch from moment to moment and you manage to smell things and you manage to, use your arm. But so much better if you can actually learn about your anatomy and be empowered through that knowledge, that you actually know what is happening on what your various body systems do. What are the functions they perform? What is happening on a metabolic level? So that is the idea in terms of empowerment. Just excuse me while I drink. And teaching about your chakra system. And understanding your chakra system is also necessary, like a dancer learning about anatomy so that you can transform into lasagna. So ballet dancers, they learn all about their spine anatomy. They learn all about their ankle anatomy so they can dance well and not hurt themselves. And this is the exact same thing, that I want everyone here to be able to learn and understand their own personal time anatomy. When I start to show you these pictures of, instead of talking, let me show you. I'm like, oh goody, I can talk with pictures. This is great. As I start to show you these pictures here, you understand that what I'm doing is drawing pictures of your time body, your time anatomy. So wait, let's see if I can, am I drawing it? Good, I have something I can draw with. This is your human body here that I'm very roughly outlining. But then you have all of this other stuff over here that I'm scribbling upon, and that is the aspect of you that is made out of time. So on this diagram, let me make my face bigger so you can see me better. There we go. That didn't work. Never mind. Just trying to move my face aside so you can see everything properly. The only thing that's physical on this drawing right now is the large red, butterfly shape that I have drawn. The red chakra system, or red aspect of chakra. This right here, this level of reality, is the only thing that is physical that's in this drawing. And I know that there's a human form in there. I know that you can see that there's a person over here where I'm scribbling. But when you begin this homework, I want you to start out not focusing on that person. But I left that there as a reference point. So what I actually have here is my own drawing that I then annotated on top. So I'm telling you how you're going to do your homework. So I won't go through we'll recap the previous homeworks at the end of this lesson. We'll just start off with this for everyone. So the first thing that I want you to do is draw, a cross section of the red chakra. So that would be your first harmonic circle, whatever measurement you started off with. Being in the United States, we use inches. I started off with inches, and I started off with units of 12 because I'm comfortable with 12, and 12 divides up very easily into some of these other increments. But you could start off with 10, or you could start off with 20, or you could start off with 17, but don't start off with 17 because then when you start to divide it up, you will get horrible fractions and other things that make life hard. That's why I usually use 12. So you draw this basic red structure that you have here. And I also apologize because I know that earlier in the semester I started to present to you this homework and I messed it up. I messed up my presentation. I was confused. I wasn't sure if it was a light blue circle or a dark blue circle. And I said, I'm muddying the waters instead of making things better. So now I'm starting rectifying, clearing up what I what I did so inexpertly earlier. And thank you for understanding, because this is the first semester that I'm presenting homework drawing homework lessons to the class as part of the information that I'm presenting. So I'm learning along with you. Thank you for your understanding of that. So eventually, when you do this assignment, you will end up with the human figure and all of the nested chakras, and you will see exactly how they all fit together and interpenetrate. So this is Yeah, Pedro's saying you have to learn to rectify. That is very good. So this is like a journey. Like you start off with one foundation and then you build on top of that. Apologies again, just to drink a lot. Thank you. Okay, so the very first thing in this assignment is you draw your first set of circles, and you can see how they overlap and create this 4 vortex shape. And it's a cross section of volumetric, meaning rounded structures, but we're looking at a cross section. And then the next thing is, oh, darn it. Will it work properly? Good, it worked properly. Technology is fantastic, this is great. So then the next thing is we're going to start drawing the orange set of chakras directly overlapping on red. And maybe can I even change? Yeah, good, because I want a color that you can see, I think, a little bit better. This little intersection spot that I'm circling right there, I talked about that. I did foreshadowing in previous classes. I said that's a very special place, that we have 7 chakras, right? 7 colors of the rainbow, Roy G. Biv, and also just corresponding with the notes on the piano, right? But on here, if I circle the places on the physical anatomy, where the pointy parts, I want to say vertexes, the pointy parts of the funnel shapes come together. We've got one right there. Where's my next one? One is right there. I'm sorry I have to squint and make such funny faces. One is right there. One is right there. And then one is right there. Class, let's count up together how many yellow circles I have just drawn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 circles. But I just said that there are 7 energy centers, and everybody here is extremely intelligent. You say, Aurora, that does not make sense. Well, the answer is that some of these chakras or energy centers overlap. Some of them do not. So there would be in a, do I have it over here? In a much more, I can only do one thing at a time. Nope, can't do it. In other drawings that I have that are more literal and less accurate, I show each one of the energy centers kind of stretched out, and I don't show any of the overlaps. So you would see 7 circles if I circled on those drawings. But I'm using this drawing because it is the most anatomically accurate or correct that I've done. That's why I did it to date. So every time my drawing skills level up, I make a new version of this anatomical diagram, and also every time that my own inner vision gets more clear, my telescope gets more clear, then I'm able to see more and understand more, I make an updated version. So what I'm showing you here is my most accurate, most updated version, and using all the tricks of the trade with artistry in terms of being able to show what's going on here, to accurately convey this information to you, so that you can accurately, like a dancer, know how your hip bone fits into your pelvis bone or whatever. So this place over here and this place over here are the 2 places on your body where 2 chakras overlap. So you have 1, 2, 3. Those are chakras that are centered in those areas. But here and here, oops, you have, now it's getting like a crazy football diagram, you have 2 overlapping. So here you have 1, 2, and here you have 1, 2. So now if we count up how many lines we have, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So up here, there's 1, 2. Down here, there's 1, 2. But here, here, and here, there's just 1. I hope I'm not being too confusing with what I'm saying. All of this so that you can understand, doing this homework assignment and learning how to draw the chakras is like a logic puzzle. Like any logic puzzle, like Sudoku, if you like that. I like it a lot. I like numbers. I think it's fun. Some people hate math and they hate numbers, but like try and be a little open-minded. Like try a taste, see if it might be good. Building this apparatus in your body is like a logic puzzle. So these 2 fit together down here, and these 2 fit together up here. And then you can figure out how the rest of them fit together based upon these starting points, is what I'm trying to say. So the first thing that you're doing is starting off with these red lines as a starting point. And then the next thing is, well, you know that orange has the same exact center or the same exact bullseye. So then you draw orange on top of that. And what else do we know about orange? Orange, these circles, I'm drawing a very poor circle there, but that, what I just highlighted, that orange circle is half the size of the red circle that is here. Again, it's a logic puzzle. I gave you the information. You know the proportions, 1, 1/2, 1/3, 1/4, et cetera, et cetera. So if red is 1 and orange is 1/2, it's going to be like this. So that's the next part of the homework. Start off with the red chakra, then draw the orange chakra overlapped on top of it. Now, come on, do the annotation thing, because I have to click down here. This is very hard, guys. No. I don't know if it's, I'm going to have to stop share. Oh, okay, I'm going to have to stop share. Don't worry, it's technology. It's very hard. Go back to it now. And now I can do this. Oh, okay. Now I will annotate. So wait, what's the difference before I start? No, now it won't let me annotate. Yes. You can see that I just drew here this big yellow line. Good. So that's the next thing in building this, building these puzzle pieces, or putting these together. So here where I'm making a big circle, and here where I'm making a big circle. Those are two crucial places. Those are little spots on this lower portion of the orange chakra system. You could think of it as a frowny face. There's, you know, the smiley face. You could think of it as the frowny face or whatever. That we know that this circle here is going to have as its midpoints, these are midpoints where I'm making these slashes, it's going to have those two midpoints resting upon the frowny smile of the orange chakra. So that's your next like landmark, or that's your next whatever. It's almost like sewing a dress, like you have these little points that you have to connect everything to. So those are your next connecting points. So you have drawn your red, you've drawn your orange chakra. The next thing you do is you find those connecting points, and then you draw the upside down smile, you draw the frowny face in yellow. And then the next thing that you're going to do is draw the complement to yellow. So what I'm trying to say, I hope that this is coming out properly. Like, it's so hard for me to tell you how my mind works while I draw. Once you get the position of this circle, you know where the next 4 circles that it's connected to are going to go. You know that it has a connection over here that is going to be the convergence point of all of those circles. So you know one of them is going to end up going around roughly like this, and one of them is going to end up going around about like this. And you will draw it a lot more accurately than my extremely sloppy electronic pen drawings. This thing is very hard to draw with. So you draw the yellow chakra as the next thing. Okay, now let's see. I might have to jump out. I'll jump out. I'll jump back in. I'm sorry, it's a boring thing like that, because it doesn't always let me release the pen in order to go to the next step, to the next thing. Okay, wait. No. Come on, stupid thing. Come on, stupid thing. Is it going where it needs to go? It's just so hard to work with. Oh my God. No, that's not the right one. Oh my God, here we go. Okay, I'm sorry I skipped one. Wait. I skipped too many. Oh my God, I skipped way too many. Life is so hard. Okay, wait. Okay. There. You pretend I didn't just do all of those things and just watch. So we started off with the upside down smile of yellow. Then you're going to draw this one on top. There you go. You can see it. That is the complement. Then you can see the entire yellow chakra structure that is drawn on top of there. What's the next thing that we do? Now we're going to draw green. Can you see what I got over here? These 3 arrows point to 3 crucial places where there are lines that coincide. So can I squiggle here? I don't know if you can see my squiggling. This white arrow to the left of your screen points to the place where the green upside down smile hits against the yellow upside down smile. And these are literally like interlocking gears or water wheels or pachinko. This is like a very old game before they invented Atari. Like these are like these little wheels that interlock and that energy moves through. So these places where the wheels, they're like cogs in a machine, where they, in a mechanical machine, is what I'm trying to say. These energy structures touch against one another in the same way that cogs of a mechanical machine touch against one another. And they do this in a higher dimensional space that is not the physical space. And yet there are similarities in the characteristics of energy as it flows to the way that energy flows in the physical world, such as water flowing through a stream, or blood flowing through your body, or electrons flowing through a wire. Okay, so all of this that I'm describing to you is non-physical. It is purely energetic. It's purely based in consciousness or in the higher dimensional landscape reality of time. However, the characteristics of energy as it flows in that state has some coincidence, has some commonalities. You can use as an analogy the flow of water or flow of energy or flow of electrons in the physical world. So the green water wheels rest upon the lower edge of the yellow water wheel, and these two white arrows that are down at the bottom that are kind of horizontal point to the place exactly where they fit on that line. So you can do this exploration in your own way. Just like with the previous homeworks, I told you, you can divide the circle by either doing a calculator or doing math in your head or doing an actual linear equation, or you can divide the circle by drawing a circle on a piece of paper and folding the physical piece of paper in half. And I love that one of the students of this class did that. Or you could do something else. You could say, well, I'm going to take like a string or a ribbon, and I'm going to measure how long that circle is, and then I will fold the ribbon in half. Like there's all of these different ways that you can use in order to achieve the same effect. So in terms of how I would figure this out when I do this drawing, where's my little templates? Sorry, I'm off camera. Well, I'll use a big giant template. So you can see I would use, this is a giant template, but I would use a template like this. And if this is, I don't know if you can see that there's a line across there. I would actually start to line up the template on my drawing to say, where does this fit so that these two little places at the on the circumference of my circle, so that they fit perfectly onto the edges of the lower structure, because these are energy systems that are literally balancing upon one another in the non-physical space. So those two little lower arrows where I'm kind of scribbling my cursor down here, that's where the lower edge of the green, you can think of them as like car wheels, like tires. They're oriented vertically like tires. That's where they rest. And this arrow over here, that's the upper arrow, you can see that the center point or the midpoint of that green line fits perfectly with the like lower lip of the orange vortex. If you consider this like the mouth of the vortex, this upper boundary here, you can see that the green line is fitting perfectly with the orange line. So that's another landmark that you can create for yourself as you are going through this drawing. It's just like you do these things when we're drawing faces in art too, and we're going to get to the human anatomy part of overlapping the anatomy here. But like when you're drawing faces in art, you can do some little tricks of the trade. You can say, well, the corner of the mouth usually aligns with, this aspect of the eye, this aspect of eyebrow usually aligns with this aspect of this. Like there are all these little landmarks on the face. And this is tricks of the trade of artistry that have been developed over hundreds of thousands of years of artists drawing with charcoal. Like you don't have to reinvent the wheel. They've been doing this for a long time. But not that many people know about the tricks of the trade of how to draw the chakras. What are the landmarks so that you make sure a face looks like a face? So let's talk about this. When something is distorted, like if you see proportions of a face, if the proportions are close enough to reality, you will read that as a true human face. But if they're wildly distorted, like if there was a foot of space between the eyes, you had the eyes super far apart, you would say that no longer reads as a human face. You would say that's so distorted that we would now either interpret that as a different organism or a, you know, a monstrous appearance or something like that. So proportions matter in this presentation of your non-physical space in exactly the same way the proportions matter in your physical body. If you had fingers that were 10 feet long, we would say that is not realistic and that is a grotesque appearance. So your fingers in a drawing have to appear to be within certain parameters in order for you to appear to be human, healthy, and realistic. Same thing with this. So if you're green, if that green line went way all the way up here, you know, like a big giant hoop all the way up above the person's head, that would be grossly distorted. You know, like something like 10-foot long fingers would say that is not what this is actually supposed to look like. So you know that you're drawing the size of that green circle, right? And that's correctly placed when it fits perfectly with the outer edge that you'll see of the orange chakra. So now I think I've got my drawings perfectly set. No, there we go. Okay, so wait. Now I want to annotate. Allow me to annotate. It won't let me annotate. I know I make you guys crazy with this, but it's only because I'm giving you my craziness because this thing drives me crazy. If I don't press the button immediately, I don't get to annotate. That's a lot of pressure. I'm like, I can't take so much pressure. Okay, wait, let me change a different color. I'm such a perfectionist. You drew this. This is the first part of this, but that's not the end. That was just me extremely laboriously explaining where that is supposed to be placed. And now that you know that you've got this circle here, right? Now you know that this is its midpoint over here. What do? It's pattern. Keep on doing the pattern. You make another complementary circle up here, and you make another complementary circle here, and then you connect them. I hope you can see what I'm drawing here. Then you connect them as 4 vortexes. So that what that ends up looking like in drawing is got one like this. It's not just a little hard to see. One like this. You know, these become your vortexes over here, and then you have down here too. So you're starting to see how this all fits together. And then you've got this, where I just drew that line. That's important. Gonna redo it. It's gonna fit together with this right here. And what's that? What did I just show you? What did I just point to you there? That's one of those little crossing points. That's the one where your violet and dark blue chakra fit together. So let me go forward again. Boom. No. Sometimes life is so hard. This way, like this. That little vortex goes right on top of there, and of course goes around the back too. Okay, so wait. Now I'm going to undo all this so you understand the green structure is there. Now I have to get rid of my annotation. How do I do that? Go to the next one. Go to the next one. Annoying you so much and annoying me too. Everybody's getting annoyed by the computer. Okay, up to blue. Blue. Fantastic. Then you do the same thing with blue. Okay? So now it will it let me add? Well, let me add it to you. I don't want to drive you crazy. So in order to draw the blue layer, what you do is you do exactly what you did between green and yellow, except now you do it with light blue and green. This lower arrow points to the area where I'm wiggling my cursor, where there's actually a coincidence of 3 lines. Can you see that on your screen? Can I make this any bigger? I made it bigger. That was great. That is an area of coincidence. Look what overlaps right there. The blue line that is starting to make a car tire. The lower edge of the smiley, the frowny, the frowny green, and the smiley yellow. All fit together perfectly in that little spot. That, when things like that start to happen, you're like, wow, I am really on target. And of course, there's one that complements it on the right. And then let's talk about this upper arrow over here. You can see that, first of all, that is the midpoint of the light blue frowny line, frowny semicircle. And it coincides perfectly with the front lip of this yellow vortex. And since I enlarge things now, I think it's easier to see where I'm wiggling my cursor. That's where green and orange fit together. And here's where blue and yellow fit together. So now I have to hop out and hop back in to annotate, but I'm getting there because it doesn't give me the pen when I want the pen. I have to ask the artificial intelligence, may I please have the pen? I would like to do a thing. Can I please do it? I can't do everything that I want to do. It doesn't, it's like the computer doesn't let me draw the way I want to draw. Help. Wait, now I have to do this. I want a fat line, please, computer. Please let me do it here. Okay. Oh my goodness. So of course we're going to do the same thing. And I draw these as full circles. Look, dot, dot. You can't see that. I'm making dots. This is part of the blue circle. And this blue circle, man, that's a special place too. Do you see where I just made that? That blue circle fits with green. This is green over here. I didn't make it green. Let's make it green because it's confusing if I say the wrong word. This fits with this. Got it? These amazing things start happening. Really start to learn when you do, this drawing at this level of detail. Go back to blue. So you end up drawing the entire 4 vortex apparatus of light blue. And light blue has its crossing point way over there, okay? And this starts to become important because this spot, this little spot that I'm circling in blue, that we know anatomically must be in the throat and in the neck. So you can do there's like a lot of wiggle room, there's a lot of area for personal artistic interpretation, but at a certain point your drawing is going to have to fit anatomically with other things that are going on, and then it's going to be it will be difficult. I'm not trying to do too many things at once. If you don't have this area properly calibrated, it really shows, because you can't have this, what is your throat, like down here in your boobies. That's not going to work, or in your stomach, or even up here at the level of the ear. Like that's got to be where that is. So let me hop out so that I can go back to the next screen. It just makes it hard for me to do this sometimes. Go to the next one, which is over here. It's this one. Did I go there? The next one, this one. Ah, now what is this one? Do the same exact thing. Huh? What is that? With blue. And blue has lots of fun and interesting things that happen with green. Let me drink a little bit. So, and pardon me if I sound repetitive, but this is a repetitive, like you're building, it's a fractal. You keep doing the same thing over and over. So these white arrows to the left and the right show you where, look, there's again, fun and exciting, interesting things that are happening here. Where I'm wiggling my cursor on the left, you have the termination point of this dark blue frowny circle onto the surface of the light blue frowny circle, which also coincides with or rests upon the orange front lip of the open vortex. And also the midpoint of the blue, like the top of the hoop over here of dark blue, fits or overlaps with or meets with the front lip or opening of the green vortex mouth. So you start seeing like that fits together perfectly. And where I'm wiggling my cursor, I said, that's a very special, important part of the anatomy. So wait, I'll hop out, I'll hop back in. I keep on having to do this so I can annotate the stupid thing. I don't mean to sound grumbly when I do this, guys. I just want you to understand that, it takes its toll. These are very hard things sometimes. I'm joking. I'm trying to make a fatter line too. This is so hard. Here. So in homework, what I want you to do is draw the blue vortexes too. And look at what I just drew, that line that I just drew. Look how it fits together perfectly. The green and the orange line that's right there. Here, I'll erase this and I'll go backwards. And then I'll go forwards. And then you can see what I'm talking about. The blue line is not drawn perfectly. It goes like this. There you go. My electronic pen is just very hard. And there's one that's I cannot draw effectively. It's up here. It's kind of like beyond the range of where I can get my pen. But all of these coincide of another very important anatomical place. That change of color, where I'm circling, the big yellow circle here, and that is directly in the middle of your skull. So it's not necessarily like, you know, up here on your forehead. It's more like behind your nose, where, like if this is your skull and this is your spine, it's, you know, kind of like internally where your skull and your spine come together inside of your physical anatomy. So that's another place where it's like you have to line up in terms of making these puzzle pieces, make sure that that area of the anatomy lines up correctly with the head and other things that you start to draw. Okay, I'm gonna hop out, I'll hop back in so I can go back to my scrolly thing, because then we're gonna do violet. That, now I can scroll. Wait, boom. That was that one. There's this one. Fantastic. Okay. Oh, now I want to make this bigger. Do the thing. Good. Okay, so that's that place I was just showing you. The place where, so, okay, I'm jumping ahead too much. You can see that in this drawing, I have drawn in violet. You can also see that relative to blue, blue is horizontal, going across like this, but violet is going up and down like this. I haven't drawn all of it in. Like, you'll have all 4 structures in yours. You'll have all 4 vortices, all of both chakras in your drawing, but I drew this so that you can understand that this area of anatomy is where these 2 complementary perpendicular chakras come together. And that's, again, like the blades of a helicopter and the rotor of a helicopter. That helicopter has, it has a, when those apparatuses spin, it has a gyrostabilizing effect as the helicopter moves through the atmosphere. When these energy apparatuses spin, it has a gyrostabilizing effect when you move through energy. And in this case, the energy is the energy of time. Like, we are moving through the time field. It is a purely energetic realm. So you are achieving like momentum to create these energy centers, and then the placement of the energy centers relative to one another, perpendicular, like this, is what gives them the gyrostabilizing effect. Because as one is spinning like this, one is spinning like this, and that's, have you guys ever played with a gyroscope? I don't have one, but if you've ever played, like, if you push a gyroscope, if this is a gyroscope that's spinning around like this, and I push it like this, it doesn't go like this. It actually has a stable effect, so that it doesn't, like, if you push it over, it doesn't fall over. It actually goes back up like this. So that is what we're talking about, a stability as you fly through time. So I'm going to go more into, okay, wait. So that little spot here where I'm wiggling with my cursor, that's a very important part as you start to logically make the map of where the human body fits with all these colorful things. So now I'm going back to here. So the next, in your homework, you want to, and this drawing doesn't show everything because it doesn't show the completed blue chakra or the completed violet chakra. In your homework, once you have gotten your drawing to this stage, and you can see that there are these 5 white dots, but you don't have to draw the white dots, but you know that those centers are there. Then you have to draw a head-sized circle. And this is the thing that I think is the most challenging part of this, because now you're going to start to learn how to fit your anthropomorphic, human-shaped form amidst this world of pure energy. And that calibration is critically important also. It has to do with how you interface with time. This is just like understanding like a dancer. Like, you have to understand like how your foot fits in a shoe. Like, you have to understand this stuff so that you can walk around and dance effectively. So this choice in your homework of what size to make your head is crucial. And there are, I can't actually read what's going on in the chat. I have to wait until I'm done. I will go out and then pop out of here, and then I'll tell you. How do you choose the size of head? I know I'm jumping ahead. Wait. Can we move this to the side? Let me drink. Hold on a second. I'm so sorry. Let me also get rid of this. No one should be reading this. I jumped to the last slide because I wanted to be able to show you that in drawing anatomy, like I was telling you, in drawing the face, there are different things that you learn whatever in art school about like where the corner of your mouth fits relative to your eye and all these different things. In drawing anatomy, generally we say a person is 8 heads tall, all right? It's actually less than 8 heads. Most people are not 8 heads tall, but we tend to idealize the human form and draw people like for fashion sketches, you know, fashion plates or whatever to, you know, make a little, you know, drawing of a dress or something like that. We make people eight heads tall, or in cartoon drawing to draw like heroic action figures, they're 8 heads tall. Okay, so let's make us heroic action figures and we're 8 heads tall. So what does that mean? It means that this circle size, or this rather, this oval size that you are choosing to represent the human head should be a segment that is 8 segments of the entire length of the being. So from the top of the head to the bottom of the feet in here is roughly 8 heads. Got it? So, because if you make your head up here like a little tiny pea head, then it means that your feet will end up being down here where the hands actually should be. So now you're starting to understand the proportions. As you're doing this logic problem here, wait, no, go bigger. That's what I want. As you're doing the logic problem, you have to be able to understand that where I'm wiggling the cursor, that's gotta be the throat. Somewhere in the neck, and your neck is not that big a part of your body. And where I'm wiggling the cursor here, that has to be in the direct middle of the head, in the skull. So if you know that, and you know that, then you know you're gonna have to make your head about this big. And if you make your head about this big, then you can add 7 more, you know, little circles in pencil or however you want to do it, and you can erase them later, so that then you know how big the feet should be down here. Okay? All right? So now let me scroll back because I just jumped ahead. This thing's crazy. There we go. Okay, so we're moving from there to there. Find the 5 centers. Determine the size of your head in your homework drawing. That is a challenge. Work in pencil. This is what it is like. This is what an artist is like. Like, you work in pencil. Like, no, that's wrong. Erase it. No, that's wrong. Erase it. Like, having an eraser is as much important as having an actual pencil. Okay, the next part of how to figure out how to create like the human outline in this drawing, there we go, is where I put these white lines, these little highlights that the arrows are pointing to. So those are right about at the edge of the frown of light blue. Right about at the edge of the frown of light blue is where you will put shoulders. They're just about that wide, that far apart. And remember, we have this little circle over here that is, we know that's going to be located in the neck. If you look at the slope of the violet chakra, it mimics the slope of your neck and shoulders. So you guys don't have to be perfect anatomists. I'm not requiring that you understand the clavicle bone and the trapezius muscle and how everything fits together in the neck. You don't have to get that detailed yet. But if you're already an artist and you really want to go for it, fantastic, and I encourage you. Yeah, I love overachievers, but for anyone who's already intimidated by this and is like, Aurora, like I'm stabbing myself with ice picks over this, don't be intimidated. Please move ahead joyfully, and you can do dots. You can do like a rough connection. Do just like a rough sketch just to get an idea of where the human is amidst all of this. And then when you get that basic head, shoulders, and neck structure, then from the end, you figured out, remember how far down the feet are going to be relative to all of this, then it becomes a lot easier to just pretty much, you can do, a sketch or a dotted line, just pretty much bring that line all the way down to where the feet are, and then it's going to be up on the other side. And then the other aspect is where I'm wiggling my cursor in between the legs. I will tell you this, if you've ever taken life drawing or anatomy class or whatever, like everybody wants to gloss over this part of the anatomy. It is the most challenging part of the anatomy to actually portray accurately, tastefully, appropriately. People are just like, let's just throw the tablecloth over there. Let's put a potted plant right over that area, whatever we can to just have to avoid the whole whatever. So, I'm not saying you have to be anatomically perfect or whatever. What I want to say is it matters where the cleft of your crotch is, where a person's legs come together, that V shape, matters relative to this big white dot. Because in the logic puzzle, we know where the big white dot is, we know where the convergence of orange and red are. And I think that there's a lot more wiggle room in determining where that is than in terms of where the neck, where the throat chakra, and where the the head chakras are. Because it's like, this could be like 1 inch below your belly button or 3 inches below your belly button. Like, that doesn't matter. But then you have to make certain that this cleft between the legs, this V, should not be directly upon this white dot. It should be below this white dot, because this white dot would coincide with an area that is like below your belly button but above your crotch. So somewhere in the area of your lower abdomen, but not directly like at the part of the body that you sit on, not directly your genitals. It should be slightly above that. And that's because there are 2 chakras that come together. So the red chakra, if it were just on its own, if I portrayed it not anatomically totally accurately, pardon if my words don't come out right. The red chakra, if I stretch everything out and was very literal, would be centered where I'm hovering my cursor, kind of in the cleft right between a person's legs. And then orange would be up here. But again, I'm showing you this modified, more accurate way of portraying it. So these are like, when I said logic puzzles, like, if this is this and this is this and this is this, then this is where this has to be. So this big white dot here, we know is lower abdomen. And then we know that the cleft between the legs should be some amount of space below the lower abdomen. And then if you want to get even fancier, like, so then you've established legs, right? Like, legs are roughly this big and roughly this far apart. Human hands mostly come down to about mid-thigh. Like, if you stand up and, unless you're like one of those Olympic swimmers, there's this one guy and his arms are very out of proportion, but that helps him in his swimming career. But most humans, if you stand with your fingertips down and your hands to the side of your body, mostly your fingertips will come to the point of mid-thigh. So that can help you out. And then, of course, there's all sorts of different sizes and proportions and, types of bodies that have different types of anatomy, wider and slimmer and with different fat in different places. So you can add all of that according to your own. Oh my goodness, I'm now going to stop, share, drink a little bit of water. Get to any questions that I couldn't see in the chat. We'll clarify. I apologize. And I apologize. I know it's very challenging for me to put. It's so much easier for me to draw it than it is for me to describe it with words. So thank you. Sharon says that she loves the folding method as she's numerically challenged. This is why I'm encouraging everyone to find their personal approach to being able to understand math and proportions, because not all of this is based in Arabic numerals or the type of calculations and addition and subtraction that was taught to us probably in grade school. And the way that they teach addition and subtraction now is very, I think, ineffective. There's all these different ways that people can look at math. And so for me, it's totally a visual apprehension. For me, when I'm thinking about math and I'm thinking about numbers, I actually don't see little numbers, little 1, 2, 3. I'm actually seeing circles of different diameters and different proportions coming together, or sometimes blocks, almost like Tetris blocks that come together. And that's how I do my inner calculations. So I might imagine a block of 10, and a block of 10 can be divided up into 5, like an inch. You can have half an inch, you can have 3/4 of an inch. And I kind of, use that. I've developed my own way of doing this. You guys don't have to use my way of doing this. You guys can develop your own personal approach or use whatever combination of approaches works for you. I present this because I want you to learn. The methodology does not matter, but learning and mastering the information is what matters. So just like we are all now literate. We all now can read words and write words, but there was a time in our lives when each one of us had to learn like, how do you even hold a pencil? You had to be taught like this, like not like this. And how to write letters. So, how you write a letter A, how you go through all the different letters of the alphabet, like that's something that each one of us had to learn and master. It doesn't matter if you have perfect handwriting. It doesn't matter how exactly you write a letter A. What matters is that you can communicate effectively to others. So that is what I am encouraging the student body of this class, that it doesn't matter how you understand this math, or how you understand these proportions, or what your personal learning style is. And I encourage everyone not to be too intimidated by this because it involves math or numbers, because that's a big part of empowerment. So again, a little bit about my personal journey. For the first couple of years that I was here with neurological damage and without yet my new understanding of a visual sense of how to understand math. So I was numerically illiterate, and it's a very disempowering state to be in. Because imagine if you are like a foreigner in a country where you don't understand like the exchange rate or something like that. You know, if you give someone money, you get some bananas or something like that back and then some change. Like, you have no idea if that was fair. You have no idea if that was the right amount or anything like that. You're kind of like illiterate, just going along through, or not being able to actually hear the tones of music, just kind of like tone deaf, just kind of going along. So if I give you guys this critical information about the proportions and about math and about how to understand your connection to time and to anatomy, the idea is that I'm empowering you by allowing you to understand if the exchange rate is cool, or is this a fair barter? Is this a fair anything, anything, to be able to tell someone like, this thing is 600 yards in that direction. Like, these require, to communicate information exactly in that way requires some amount of like inner calibration. So being able to master these inner calibrations means that you have a common language that you can use to communicate with other people who also speak this common language, that you can better navigate your environment, that you could be more empowered. That's my entire motivation for wanting to, it's like teaching the music theory here. Ines says, oh, so wait, I don't want to skip anyone. Oh wait, I skipped a bunch of things. Ines says, does the green circle connection show how the heart and brain connection work together? Yes. Let's first of all go back to the picture. I want to scroll all the way. Wait, I want to annotate. And I want to make this bigger. No, I can't do it. Oh, sorry, this is so frustrating. Make it bigger first, then annotate. Okay, computer. Connection to heart and brain, connection to heart and brain. Connection to heart and brain, make it bigger first. Wait. It won't let me do anything. Now, and then it won't let me annotate. Life is so frustrating. Oh my God. Okay, I'm gonna stop share. I'm gonna get a completely different picture. Just gonna work around this because this one shows it much more directly. Good. Now I'll do a screen share for that. Heart and brain, but I think instead of brain, like maybe we should call it insight. So wait, we'll start off with green. So this is I gotta make a bigger picture so you can see it. This is where roughly our anatomical heart is, and it's definitely where your heart energy center is. And this is the upper boundary of the vortex that emerges from that energy center. And your true mind, insight, your true mind, right? That's this chakra that is right here. It's in the center of your head, but it's often affiliated with, this part of your forehead, but it's like deep inside of your skull. It's not like, here where I'm touching with my finger, but often in my videos, I understand that I'm touching my forehead here, but it is deep inside of your skull. This energy center emits these vortex shapes. And these vortex shapes are kind of like the wheels of a car, and they spin around in a little track that is made by the spinning energy field of the heart. So before, just get a decent color here. Before this blue energy center can run around on its track effectively, the track has to be built. The road has to be created. Wait, let me just drink a little bit more. Just like matchbox cars. Before you can make the matchbox cars go down a little ramp, you have to actually build the ramp. So before the little car of your blue chakra, which is where your true mind resides, your true perception, before that can be active and spinning around effectively, first you have to create a foundation of the energy field from the heart. And the energy field from the heart is a tone, loves a tone. It's a tone that we make when you move through time at one moment per moment. That means I ain't thinking about the past, and I'm not anticipating or grasping for the future. I'm just moving ahead at one moment per moment. For those of you who are super students, and you remember what I'm talking about in terms of the higher dimensions and the fourth dimension, these are the boxcars, train cars of reality, and we move through reality, jumping from moment to moment at the Planck length, right? And that means that there's a rate. Like, how fast do you jump? Do you jump this fast, or do you jump this fast? Good chunk, good chunk, good chunk. Like, now you're understanding this is music. There's a whole big difference between dun 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 and dun dun dun, right? So our movement through time is meant to, and the way that we are embedded in time and our rhythm as we are experiencing time is meant to be complementary, harmonically, with the rest of the music of life. We're supposed to be jumping from moment to moment at exactly the right rate. That's like saying I'm supposed to be playing my drums in my band at exactly the right rate. And if you don't play at the right rate, you get kicked out of the band, and that's called you die, right? That only seems fair if you want to stay in the band, stay on the beat. So that's the idea, jumping through time at the right moment. So we can literally continue jumping through time endlessly if we keep keeping the beat. That's the idea. That's what that love tone is. Love tone, just keep making the love tone. And you keep on jumping from moment to moment through time. And you want to do that because when you stop jumping from moment to moment, that is death. That is literal death. So the connection between the healthy functioning of these two energy centers is that you have to learn how to create a lot of unconditional love. Let's call it momentum. The way any spinning thing has momentum. It can spin slow, and then it's kind of weak and lame and sympathetic. Or it can spin really, really fast and be super strong and virile. And when it's spinning really, really fast, anything that comes into it, if it's not supposed to be there, fling, gets, like kapling, like, that's the best way I can describe it, gets flung off of it. That the whirling momentum of that energy center and the integrity of form that is created by that level of momentum makes any poorly formed energy that wants to enter that energy system not be able to enter. That there's energy integrity in the momentum that is whirling at the level of the heart, and then any unloving bad music, let's face it, bad music, that music does not actually come in and affect the energy center because you're whirling around at this very fast, effective rate. Keeps the crapola out. So it's like, again, that type of immune system idea. In order to get to that level of having that amount of momentum, it's necessary to practice meditation and mindfulness, because verbalized thoughts are another way that the whirling momentum and integrity of the heart are compromised. And if you want to compromise someone's heart, go to a planet where everyone is whirling perfectly and just implant a verbalized mind that then makes it very difficult for them to maintain their whirling integrity. And that's exactly what happened to this planet. And I'm jumping ahead to lesson 18. We won't go there for right now, but you know what I'm talking about. Okay, wait, let me drink a little bit. Go through the rest of the questions and I'm almost done with level 1. But yes, basically, so I'll describe this answer more anthropomorphically now, because I know I gave you the diagrammatical answer. The answer is, and that this apparatus is not the only part of higher dimensional seeing or higher dimensional awareness, but to create the higher dimensional viewpoint, to really have the perspective of seeing from your true mind and also being guided by the cosmic, librarian. It is necessary to have a lot of love, to have a very firm foundation of love. That's like saying you have to have a lot of acceptance for the information that you will be receiving. You have to have like a very strong stance. Like in a hurricane, a wind is blowing against you. You have to be like, I'm going to stand here no matter what. That's what it is like with love. You have to be in this stance of unconditional love that says, I'm going to stand here even though there's this very strong gust of information that is coming at me that can be emotionally perturbing. That's the whole thing. And emotions, what I'm talking about these guys down here, the human, mammalian, orange emotion centers. When you start to get insight from up here, it's going to affect down here. It affects the entire body system. So you have to have an enormous amount of love Very fast love wheels are spinning. Very loud love tone is playing, so that you can deal with what you actually begin to perceive through your higher dimensional senses. If anything in this class can give you a sense of what you start to see through your higher dimension, like that will emotionally perturb you, it's the things that I talk about. Lesson 18, why are we in this difficult situation? When you start to awaken your higher senses and you start to perceive energy directly, it is my prediction that you will not see everybody on Earth looking like these idealized diagrams that I'm showing you. I'm showing you ideal anatomy. Remember the Grecian marbles, people who are perfectly formed and absolutely beautiful. And then you start to look out at the world, you're like, these people look like horrible wrecks. They don't look like these perfect pictures. That's exactly right. That can be emotionally perturbing. You see energy, you have to have a strong heart, because your emotions are going to start to get engaged, saying, I'm angry, I'm upset, this is not right, this is bad, or this is wrong, or this is gross, this is whatever is your reaction. The heart is the organ of accepting information. And accepting does not mean loving and hugging. It's not like, oh, you're a horrible, broken person, like, I'm going to hug you, come live with me. It's not like that. It is like saying, I accept this information. This information is coming to me from my insight, it's giving me these emotional reactions, and I accept that. That's the engagement between these three colors on your body, between orange, green, and dark blue. That is like, and also when you have healthy functioning anatomy, like these three aspects of your anatomy make beautiful harmonic music. And also just briefly, I'll share an insight that I had with you, but then I'll go through the rest of the questions. People have sometimes asked me about, like, hey, Aurora, you talk about a time before people had to eat food, before people had to eat physical food, and when people were pure light eaters. What about the organs? Like, we got all these organs in here. Like, some of them are totally about food. Some of them, like your liver and your colon, like, these are definitely food. Your stomach, these are food organs. Like, why are they in there if we didn't eat food? And the answer is that each organ creates a type of music, like a particular tone of your body. And that the job of the organ before we ate stuff was to, you're supposed to eat light and then emit a tone. And that you were in tune and healthy. Like, if your liver's supposed to be playing this note, you're like, good, your liver sounds great. What if your liver's not playing that note? What if it's playing this note? What if you're playing that note? Then you're like, someone's gonna come up to you and say, your liver doesn't sound that good. Better get your liver tuned up so that it's playing the right note again. So yeah, these were like centers on our body that emitted particular vibrations. Just throw this out there so that you can think about things in a different sense and having a different purpose. That the reason for that anatomy being in our body was not to break down animal fats, but was instead to, those cells created a particular emission of energy that is like a particular quality of song or music that added to the symphonic artistry of our entire body. Okay, thank you for letting me give that. Pedro says, I don't have a gyroscope, but a bike wheel acts like one. Exactly, you totally get it. Ines says, so now I understand better that here the cosmic energy center in the crown reconnects to the pineal gland when we receive the cosmic input for more awareness. Totally got it, Ines, thank you. Great that I understand. Now the drawings, calibration, the interconnection, wow, amazing. Good, thank you. That is exactly, I'm so happy. I'm happy you're in this class, and I'm happy that that came across to you, because that is why I teach these things to people. That is why I show this. So also, I learned all of this through, looking at my own anatomy with my own inner telescope. And then I share it with other people, and then my hopes are that you will become an expert at your own anatomy. Like, each one of us is built slightly differently. Each one of us has our own unique presences. So I would hope that each one of you would, awaken your higher faculties and look at your own body. And also, this is how we also do self-healing. That I think that we are moving into this era. We're moving out of the era where we have external authority figures, and also where we require an external healer. I don't want you to say, well, since Aurora says we can't have healers, I can't reach out for help. No. Just like we're in transition, I still eat physical food and I do sun gazing. At a certain point, we'll only do sun gazing. At a certain point, we will all be our own healers, rectifiers, nourishers. It will not be necessary to have anybody external or intermediary to be able to help us with what we need. But we're in a transition, so I want you to understand it's totally cool if you need to reach out for help. But that's just like saying, like, when you're a young person, very little, it's hard for you to get the thing off the tall shelf. But then when you grow to maturity, you get it off the shelf yourself. And that's what we are striving for. that we should be striving for this level of self-sufficiency where we can perceive our own chakras, perceive our own energy centers, see what is coming in our own future, see how that is going to affect physical, fleshy structure, and also physical, like where you live in the world structure, and then be mature enough and connected enough to reality to heal or rectify what needs to happen. So that means that puts a lot of people out of business. Not that I'm thinking purely in these terms, but think like that means that physical healers on earth would have to have a new mission or whatever. Also disembodied angels. If you pray to anything unearthly or otherworldly, say, my elbow is hurting me, like Saint so-and-so or angel so-and-so, please fix my elbow. Like that intermediary is out of a job because you're like, oh, my elbow is hurting me. Well, I'm just going to do and fix my own elbow. So that is also, it's the level of maturity and it's the level of self-responsibility. I say this all the time too. On the Q-tip box, when you buy it from the drugstore, like these little Q-tips for your ears, it says, never insert directly into your ear canal. Always consult a professional. And that's what this world is like. Like in this world, like you're not even supposed to stick a Q-tip into your ear and get your own earwax out. Like that is crazy. That is really, really crazy. So I'm encouraging everyone in your physical sense, your nutritional sense, and in your energy body to work towards self-sufficiency, of taking care of ourselves, but don't take those words to heart and be like, oh no, I can never accept help from anyone else. Like, no, of course not. You can accept, and it is good to reach out for help, but we're moving towards self-sufficiency. Oh, thank you, Rainbow. Someone was drawing during class and sent me a sketch. I cannot access it while I'm in the Zoom, so I'll check it out later and respond. Thank you very much. Okay, Rainbow says, perhaps break down into several discrete assignments that we can add each week for the next few weeks. A bit overwhelmed to do all at once. I am totally cool with that. That we can do that. Okay, anybody who wants to do the complete assignment can forge bravely ahead. Anybody who is feeling like this is just a lot to start with, that to go directly to go, let's start with going create the red and create the orange on top of it, and then I'll ask you to do one more thing, the lower portion of yellow. Got that? For anyone who's feeling like, Aurora, this is too many things at once, I love and appreciate and respect you. Take a comfortable amount of food on your plate and eat and digest it. Draw the red, draw the orange overlapping on it, and then figure out how to draw the lower smile of yellow. And you guys can email me photos or little sketches of what you're doing, and I will tell you whether you're in the right direction, doing the right thing, or whether you have an error. I tell you you have an error, don't take it personally. I want everybody to be correct. I want you to drive off the road because you drew your anatomy incorrectly. And for anyone else who feels, confident and would like to continue going onward, then keep going, do all of the rest like I was showing you, all of these others. There we go. I'll go through all of them, all the way up to violet. And then you can also start to figure out the anatomy. And also, something, if someone says, hey, I'm doing my homework, I feel very confident on everything up to figuring out the size of the skull, then wait. If you feel confident up to violet and just not yet understanding how to choose the size of the skull, then you can stop there. Send me your homework, I'll go over it, I'll tell you whether you've done it correctly, and then you can begin working on the human aspect of it. So yeah, I don't mean to be dumping in your lap, like here, like just do all this all at once. So that's good. Break it into pieces. Cosmic Sharp says, in last week's session, you spoke about the International Space Station footage being filmed on Earth and not in space. What is the agenda behind the Cabal's perspective? Good question. Also asks, have you been to the moon? Where are supposedly hidden underground bases? Yeah, I understand the secret space program insider narrative may have been manipulated, but is there any truth behind it? Wonderful question. Thank you for this question. So the first part is about the green screen and the ISS. It's hard for me to ascribe motives, so I cannot tell, like, why do madmen do what they do? I don't know why they do what they do, but here's what I think is going on. I think there is an actual tin can flying around in the sky, orbiting, that you can see with a physical telescope, that is up there, that was put into orbit with thrust, like big rocket thrusty type of, explosive candles, and stuck them up there, but I don't think that it is actually manned with humans. I think that it is just a thing that you can see that is flying around up there. And I think that perhaps sometimes there are probes or unmanned vehicles that are sent to interact with the ISS, but that is on a completely different schedule than what we are told as regular civilians, and that has nothing at all to do with resupplying them with football jerseys. Like, do you remember this? That there was a team that won a football game, and the guys on the ISS were holding up the jerseys of the winning team. And so, like, that does not make any sense that could be going on. That because they didn't know who would be the winning team when they blasted off. So that means they would somehow have to have every jersey of every possible team, or even to waste the weight. Again, it is thousands of dollars. They literally want skinny astronauts because it's thousands of dollars every time you add a pound. Astronauts have to like say, like, if I want to bring this into space, like how much is it going to weigh? Literally, okay, if we're going on the idea that astronauts actually go up. Okay, so yeah, there's no way that they would be like, we're going to just send this extra box of football jerseys with you in the hopes that you will have the right jersey to root for your team during the big football game. None of that makes sense at all. So a lot of those things, I think your rational skepticism should kick in. And I told you other things that I saw. There's so many videos that I would encourage you to do your own research, and they're actually kind of fun to watch, because when it's obvious when they're doing wire work, because they will do a little flip in space wearing little like hospital slippers, or they're wearing little slippers, not actual shoes. They're like, woohoo, we're in space. But they never do a flip that's at an angle. They'll never do anything that is going to show that they actually have wire apparatuses or harnesses on. So they have very limited movements that they can do. And they sometimes have a little thing where they have like, it's floating in space or whatever. Like there are Hollywood tools of the trade that are being used that it's not actually floating in zero gravity, even though it might look like that. And then someone else is like, well, what about something like if you see they're wringing out a cloth and they're singing that, seeing actual droplets looking as if they are suspended in zero gravity. What I think might be happening is that they might be filming in an actual low gravity environment, like the kind that is made when you go in a very tall ascent and then deep dive. And there's, if you want to watch a cool music video, there's one by a musical group called OK Go, where they filmed it in a Russian plane that does this. It's like a Russian, for tourists, you can feel zero gravity. They go up and then you have about 15 seconds of zero gravity, and then you have, a dive on down. So it is possible to film segments in an atmosphere where things actually behave in that way while not actually being in space. But you asked me about motivation. Why? I am really not certain about why. One possible motivation could be black budgets. If you say, oh yes, we're spending $5 million to send this rocket up to refuel the astronauts so they don't die. But there's no actual astronauts up there, so we can actually spend that $5 million on killing people or polluting the world or whatever we want to do. Like, I think black budgets are part of it. There's also, the manipulation of human consciousness, of being able to say, yes, there are actual humans that we have that are astronauts that are in space. We are somehow, active in a non-earthly environment, as opposed to the lack of empowerment that would be, if they said we were not able to actually sustain life in space, or we were not actually able to do this. Because you're coming from this question also about, like, have we been to the moon and what is actually going on the moon? So the moon itself is not a natural object, and it does a lot of unnatural things in terms of controlling and limiting our consciousness in terms of what humans have access to on the moon. Like, there's a lot of civilization circuitry or whatever on the moon that humans are not allowed to view and are not allowed to visit. And when I say allowed, like, there's a holographic projection off on the moon right now. So if you look at it with a telescope, you're not actually seeing the real, like, the moon has makeup, the moon has fake makeup so that it looks different than it really is. You're not really seeing the moon, and we never see the opposite side of the moon. Don't know if there are underground bases there, but there's, like, the entire moon is a non-normal, non-natural structure that is not actually supposed to be there in that place. Yes. Okay, question about, is the secret space program, might there be some truth behind it, even though the narrative has been manipulated? There is a lot, so I'll say this, there's a lot going on off of Earth or in an otherworldly realm that is not visible to humans or the general population on Earth. And that even includes people who consider themselves space insiders, who might use synthetic telepathy or take ayahuasca or have access to a telescope or anything like that, that most of the people on Earth don't actually know what is happening in, non-local places, not nearby in physical reality and not nearby in time reality. And a lot of that is because it's multidimensional. So it can be hard to perceive, because humans here are really only trained to perceive the world in a non-higher dimensional sense. Part of what I'm trying to do with this class is to get humans to understand, like, you understand multiple timelines, multiple realities, multiple versions of self. Even the idea of understanding that we are one version of self, but there's a periphery, there's an array of self that rotates around us, and even how we define self. So many of these questions, not questions, so many of these belief system aspects or indoctrinations or value systems need to be re-examined and reprogrammed, reformed, changed in their structure for humans to be able to understand what is going on in space and effectively interact with the organisms that are there. Like, a lot of organisms are super friendly and benevolent, would love to talk with you, but don't even have a format or a commonality to be able to talk with you. And there are basic programmed in foundational expectations. Like, everybody's looking for life with a face. Everybody's looking for 2 arms, 2 legs, and 1 face. Like, there's so much. Yeah, it is a challenge to even be able to connect with consciousness. Okay, let me say this. I will clarify here. There is not a breakaway human society on Mars. There are not a bunch of rich humans who decided, oh, it's too polluted here. I don't like it. I will build my own private rocket ship and fly to Mars, or we'll do so as a breakaway civilization, and we'll just do that because we're rich. No, that is not what's going on. And the reason why I say that is because there's already things on Mars, and they ain't going to allow someone else to come and live in their neighborhood. Like, they're not friendly. They would not allow that. And so just that assertion shows, it would be like if you said, like, yeah, you're going to build your own private prostitution network and go and, work in Manhattan. It's like, the mafia already owns Manhattan. You can't actually do that. So if you're telling me that you're doing that, like, I know that you're not actually doing that because there's someone who already runs Manhattan. So there's somebody who already runs Mars. Like, if you think you're going to go take over Mars, like, there's somebody who's already running Mars. So either, like, you're erroneous or you're lying or something is not adding up there. So what are the assertions of the secret space program? The idea that regular people are kidnapped into programs against their will, or forced to do stuff in the government, and they're forced to go to Mars and labor there for 60 years and then somehow be reversed in aging and inserted back into their bodies as if nothing ever happened. Like, first of all, like, oh my God, like, I can't even roll my eyes enough at that narrative, at the lack of validity, at the lack of, like, literally, guys, if I came to you with that narrative, you'd be like, Aurora, that is BS, jump out the window. But somehow these people are being accepted. Not that I always want to be comparing myself to them, but I have actual information and like, if they went to another world, even if they were not able to bring back a musical instrument, I'm certain that they heard a song that they could bring back with them, and they could say, oh yes, this is the version of the Beatles of that world. Like, you could bring back some either cultural artifact, that's like when you bring back a song, math equation. Like, if you visited our world, you could learn a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Then you could go back home to wherever you're from and wow your neighbors with an earth equation, all right? It's not something like, oh, it's too heavy to bring back, I couldn't put that in my suitcase. It's an equation. It's something that you learned. None of these secret space program people have anything like that in order to share with the people that they have returned from in order to share their grand adventures. So that, plus their marketing and profiteering, tell me that they're fraudulent on every level. So, I mean, and you already know that. You already know that. You know how I'm feeling about that. I don't have to go into that all. I'll just leave it at this. There's a lot going on in space that involves exopolitics that is incredibly complex, that is beyond what most humans can perceive or apprehend or understand on any level. Like, it's not even like, it's so hard to put into words. Because it involves consciousness and it involves time, and it involves who you are. Like, right now you say, like, I'm this person living this life, but how do you become this person over here living this life? If you are this species over here, how do you become this species over here? In order to more effectively have this conversation, we have to talk about the journey of consciousness and how consciousness transforms and metamorphosizes on its journey, how we define self and how we define self right now. So, because many aliens are actually you in the future, coming from a very different direction, moving at a different rate through time. So it becomes very, very difficult to even, how do we talk about this? How do we talk about aspects of self? My head is going to explode. I have to go on to the next question. Thank you. Oh my goodness, look at that. The door just magically, the prophet Elijah has arrived. Hold on a second, let me close this up. That's pretty strange because the door is locked. Like, the handle lock was even locked. Woo! Okay. So anyway, yeah, give the prophet Elijah a drink of wine. On to the next question. Richard says, are our organs a backup system until we can eat sun food? I would say not a backup system. They have been repurposed. We have to eat physical food, and I'm living here with everyone else, and I have to eat physical food along with all of you, but that was not the intentional blueprint or design for our body. So I tell people how we come from a world where we ate pure sunlight, and we are transforming into a world where we eat pure sunlight, and the rational skeptic, and I applaud your critical thinking, says internally, but wait, Aurora, like, why do we have the poop chute if we never were meant to poop? Why do we have these organs that are strictly about food and ingestion if we never were meant to use them for that? Here's a good, question to ask the rational skeptic within. Let me just rearrange my chair here. Okay, like in your mouth, like when the edge of your teeth, like you do not actually feel, but our teeth have nerves and they're quite sensitive, and our gums and tongue and everything around our mouth is incredibly sensitive. So science talks about evolution and the way that our body developed according to what it needs. So like in your elbow, the skin of your elbow, it is very non-sensitive to pain. You can everybody pinch your elbow. I'm encouraging you, class, pinch your elbow skin as hard as you can. Really pinch it. This doesn't hurt me at all. I am totally not hurting myself at all. And that's because, we lean our elbows on hard things all the time. Like, you're supposed to not be always hurting yourself because you're leaning your elbows on things. Well, that makes sense according to this, kind of objective materialist evolutionary biology approach to the human body. Like, yeah, we've been leaning on our elbows for millions of years. So of course we've developed deadened nerve ends so that I'm not constantly hurting myself on that. But how about our teeth? Like, we've been crunching and biting into things all the time, and our teeth are supposedly made for like defense, like, animals biting each other, and we're supposed to bite people that we don't like. Like, if I'm biting people that I don't like, but like my lips are really sensitive and my gums are really sensitive and this doesn't feel comfortable at all. Like, don't you think we would have evolved some kind of mouth structure that is for aggression and defense that doesn't involve so much pain? If you get hurt like that, it actually hurts you when you bite other things. So there are some aspects of our body that totally do not make sense. And I think about that when I brush my teeth and if I have dental sensitivity. I'm like, how in the world could you think that your mouth was made for like going around and biting people? It wasn't. Your mouth was not made for biting things. And your mouth crystals, your teeth, were not made for like mashing things up between them. They have totally different function in our body, but they've been repurposed, is what I'm trying to say. So things like that have been repurposed. Oh, really good. Yeah, Eleanor, I know you're asking me that privately, but yes, so someone is asking me privately about the existence of Rife machines. Yes. Rife is like it's a separate apparatus or something you can get called Spooky 1 and 2 that actually works on your PC, and this is pretty exciting because it emits frequencies that you can tune according to what disease or part of the body you want to treat. So it's basically frequency medicine, and yeah, very good. Good. So okay, Rainbow, we're back to homework. Rainbow is accepting. We will do a whatever level of homework you feel comfortable with. Oh, that's interesting. So I know this is another private comment, but I'll speak to it for the class. So privately, it is about, well, saying that the Chinese went to the moon and made some kind of a deal with the extraterrestrials there. Yes, there are all sorts of backroom behind-the-scenes deals that have been made with various different Earth nationalities and factions or alliances. The Israelis have made many treaties with non-earthly beings and received a lot of technology in exchange for those treaties that they've done. So there's all sorts of extraterrestrial or exotic or non-earthly physical technology that is being used on the surface of Earth right now that derives from a quid pro quo, some kind of barter between earthly governments and non-earthly technology using extraterrestrials. That is actually normal, and that does happen quite often. I also know that there's a probe that was sent by the Israeli government called Bereshit that was supposed to go to the surface of the moon, but it didn't actually get to, and also it had like all sorts of genealogy information and stuff like that. They were doing some kind of ancestry occult thing by trying to send that up there, and it didn't make it to the actual surface of the moon. It exploded in orbit, like somewhat off of the surface, and I think that there was a probe from the country of India that was sent there very recently that something similar happened. So first of all, here's why I cannot give like really accurate information to you. I don't know how accurate the news reports that I'm receiving are. Like, I don't know if a probe was actually sent. I don't know if it actually reached the surface of the moon. I don't know if it actually vaporized before it reached the surface of the moon, or what was the purpose of it. Like, it is so hard to speak about anything that we are seeing in a news report or as a current event right now, because I don't know if it actually really happened or if it actually happened the way it was reported. So the most accurate thing I can say, because in this class I just try to be extremely accurate, is that yes, there are a lot of unseen deals that happen between human embodied earthling leaders and those who are in power socially, like people like Elon Musk make deals, like I'm talking technology leaders, and also leaders of government, make deals with non-terrestrial beings in exchange for non-terrestrial technology. And those deals are not necessarily benevolent or good for the entire population of Earth or the human body or Earth itself. But that's certainly something that is ongoing, but it's a very complex situation. Like, I don't know everything about it, and I would not want to give you erroneous information. Pedro says, I was just wondering, can we use the Merkaba just in the present, or can we put it on something in the past? Or is it better to use the FRL? Really, really good. Yes, I would say you can Merkaba the past, you can Merkaba the future, you can Merkaba something retroactively. So sometimes I have had a near miss where I'm like, whew, that went better than it could have gone. I'll just put a retroactive Merkaba around that. You know, near miss, and you kind of like counting your blessings. Like, I didn't even think to put a Merkaba around that. I'm happy it went okay. I'll just put a Merkaba like backward in time. Imagine that it went there, so that it's like you can do stuff like that. This is energy work. It is not based in, you know, the limitations of like objective materialism and time, space, and consciousness. Yes. Marco says, I have not heard that humans have any effective protection from cosmic radiation. If we don't, we can't spend a lot of time outside of the Earth atmosphere with our physical body. Is that correct? Yes. If we are traveling to space in the way that it is described with our physical bodies and with a minimum amount of radiation protection, then it is presumed that the high cosmic radiation would cause a lot of genetic changes and mutations, and that you're exposed to a great deal of cosmic radiation just flying in the high stratosphere in planes, like for commercial airline travel. So yes, you would definitely experience that being in space. But you'd experience a lot of other problems in space too. I will just go with incoming rant, prepare yourselves, gird your loins. You know, they say on the ISS, I always watch these videos. I watch how to wash your hair in space, because I wonder about that. How do you poop on the toilet in space? Because a great deal of our digestion has to do with gravity making our food go down. If you have ever been very seriously ill, like whatever, if you had like a broken back or something like that, and you could not sit up, people like that who are invalid have a great deal of difficulty with their digestion, because our digestion relies upon gravity. So these astronauts, the official story is that they have, like kind of like a vacuum hose that's for pee-pee, right? That you just kind of like place your genitals, your urethra upon that and pee into there like a tube. But then the poop, they're telling me that they actually balance upon this little tiny thing. Watch the video, guys. I'm not making this up. This big. You got to balance your ass on something this big that has like suction, and they're vacuum poop in space. And they're pretending that they're living up there for like a year, vacuum pooping like that in space. That all these astronauts, they're wearing space diapers on their spacewalks, and the vacuum pooping in space. I don't believe any of it. I think they would be constipated for a year. And we're not even talking about like, you know, does a woman have a menstrual cycle in space? How would they deal with these different effluvias and things like that? Like, no one's got an answer. And until you are ready to deal with these very basic, this is red chakra stuff. Red chakra stuff. It's connection to physicality. It's pooping. It's genital. If you can't deal with that, then like you're out of your zone. You're not ready to be in space. Thank you. Thank you for bearing my rant. You are very wonderful as a class. Thank you very, very much. Eleanor says, the review of energetic anatomy was awesome. Thank you very much. Apologies for this. I know it's super basic, but could you show again what an entire chakra looks like with its 8 petals, negative space? Is it like 6 spheres instead of the 4 we draw in cross sections, or 8? I'm finding it tricky to visualize the chakras as referred to as implied chakras. Yes, very good. No, you're not sorry for asking the basics. You're asking a really good question. There's 1 sphere here where my claw is. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Because when you're drawing circles that overlap, you're drawing cross sections of spheres. But in this sculpture, if I turn it to its side, you can see where there's implied vortexes. Like there's not a vortex here, but there's kind of a scoop where my hand is. There's an implied vortex. I'm having difficulty communicating this. I'm sorry, I have to think. I will think. Let me press pause on that answer. And maybe I have to draw a better diagram and get back to you. It's a very, clarifying that on a basic level, I think is really important. And I don't want to give you a short answer. So let me do that for next class. I'll get back to you with an actual diagram. Thank you. Richard says, are UFOs coming and going on Mount Shasta real, where they can be viewed from ECT Ranch, and are they benevolent? I cannot speak about every single UFO that is viewed on Mount Shasta or, you know, through telescopes or at a ranch or anything like that. I can say that there's a variety of things that you might perceive in the sky. But if I will tell you this, real, you know, the expert extraterrestrials do not require technology to travel through time, space, and consciousness. And you do not require technology to perceive them. Like, you can perceive them with your own birthday suit sitting in your living room. You don't have to have a special night vision telescope or anything like that, or go to a special place to be able to see and interact with them. So I think that most of what is being perceived when people see a UFO that looks like a speck of light or something more complex than that, can be perceived either with a digital camera or night vision goggles or the physical human eye. I think mostly they're seeing technology-based species. And mostly the technology-based species are not your friends. Mostly they're here to control and enslave and exploit humanity. Mostly the non-technology using beings, you would not see them flying in a linear point A to point B sense. That is a big thing. You know, like, I have to walk across the room. I'm walking across the room from point A to point B. If I'm an expert of time, space, and consciousness, I don't walk places. I portal places. I portal from point A into a different dimension to point B, and you will never see me walking across the room. So if you say, I saw an expert time-traveling, portaling alien walking across the room, I would say, I'm a little skeptical, because they don't usually do that. So walking across the room in this case would be flying across the sky. That you wouldn't usually do that. You would just portal to where you need to go. I'm going to portal over to that tree, and I'm going to sit in that tree and look at you. And then I'm going to portal over to Montana and look at something in Montana. I'm going to go fishing there, whatever. But I didn't walk all the way from that tree to Montana. I just went where I needed to go. So those are what the true sophisticates are like. So I would say that most humans, and I applaud the idea that humans are reaching out to something non-human, that humans are not afraid, and that humans are interested in something higher and benevolent, that they're looking for that. But the world is like, I don't want to say the world is a dangerous place. I feel like I'm telling you, like as children, like strangers will offer you candy, like watch out. But the world's a dangerous place, and strangers will offer you candy. And please be skeptical of the beings that present themselves. Or like, I want you to, just like in terms of healing, I want you to be open to healing and be open to help and assistance from others, and to give assistance to others, even knowing that you are reaching levels of self-sufficiency. In interacting with non-earthly presences, I want you to be happy and open and excited, like, woohoo, I want to meet cool space people. But also I want you to be skeptical of the exploitive losers and pathogenic consciousnesses that would want to, like, bite off your face, eat you, like, protect yourself from that. So yeah, just like a parent, you would say to your child, like, I want you to go outside, go run and play and have fun, and avoid the monsters, go have fun. But like, that's what I feel. So up at ECT, what did I personally see? I personally saw a lot of synthetic, just very, very briefly, and I went over this in a different video. The mountain itself that is outside of the ranch that many people look at with their night vision goggles or whatever has a hologram on parts of it. So you're not seeing the mountain with your natural eye. There are cloaks that are on there, just like there are cloaks on some of the vehicles that fly around there. That, what does a cloak look like? You can see there's the plane, and then there's a dirty yellow aura around it, and there's the blue sky kind of around the rest of it. And it's a bit subtle, but I see it very, very obviously. And so there are some planes that are regular planes flying through the sky, and there are some planes that are not regular planes flying through the sky, and you put a holographic projection on it that makes it look like it's a plane. Same thing with areas of that mountain. And the areas of that mountain that had a holographic projection are the ones from which emerged the, magical spacemen. And so I think that there's actual bases or actual, equipment on that mountain, but that it can be reverse engineered things from our own government, or it can be technology using extraterrestrials who are not your friends at all. So please do not mistake fake Elvis for the real Elvis. Like, Elvis is not, some evil loser who wants to eat your face. But I want you to be excited to meet Elvis, but I don't want you to be taken out by like an imposter. On to the next question. Ina says, so it is imaginable that we meet our future self somehow when we have set it up for our consciousness. Is it possible by FRL? Would be great to get advice from ourselves. That is exactly what is happening in this journey, in our individual and collective journeys. We are meeting ourselves from the future. And this is part of what is so perfect and fair about this system. It's like you're journeying as you go. It's like you're approaching something and you're afraid of it. You're like, I see this thing. What is this thing? What is this thing? And at a certain point, you realize you are touching a mirror and you are kissing yourself in the mirror and that it has been you all along. That is what is happening with humans and non-terrestrial life. You're approaching an object. You see an object. You think, what's this weird, strange thing? It's something other than me. I'm afraid. It's this thing. I better wait. It's just like when animals start to see something in the mirror and they don't immediately recognize it as themselves. They flare up. They put up their venom cone. They're like, I'm going to kill you. And then they get closer and closer and closer, and they realize it's actually themselves. That is what is happening. But this is a complex story because the realizing that it's yourself has everything to do with moving through time. So that in order to understand this, you might have to understand moving forward through time, moving backward through time, the commonalities, how these concentric rings affect different layers of reality. You have to begin to understand. So if you meet a gray alien, that's like the end result of every bad choice that humans could possibly make. Like you're meeting yourself in the future. The worst choices that you possibly, like, it's a cautionary tale is what I'm trying to say. You meet the end result. Like imagine if you met the end result of yourself after you had like the worst plastic surgery, like a horrible like wreck. You look like a wreck. And you say to yourself like, don't do it, don't start, because this is what will happen to you. And that's what those gray aliens are like. They are the end result of the technological nightmare of what happens if humans start to do the transhumanist thing. You think, oh, you're just going to start with like one little like lip filler, one little nose job, or one little facelift, and then it turns into this whole thing. You think you're just going to start with one little microchip in your brain. You think you're just going to start with one little AI interface, and then it turns into this whole thing of humans become infertile, humans require, implants to stay alive, humans require technology in order to just breathe, and it becomes this whole nightmarish reality. They're the cautionary tale coming from the future telling you, don't be like me, don't do that, don't do the thing. So flying rainbow lasagna, to continue to answer your question, is literally one apparatus that you can use to do the folding of space, time, and consciousness so that you can get that energy and inspiration from yourself in the future. You can talk with cautionary tales like don't be like me, but then you can talk with the successful version of yourself. You can fly rainbow lasagna with yourself in the future as a completely healed person. And you can get all of the puzzle pieces that you need, that the missing pieces, the insights, the healing, whatever you needed. It doesn't have to come from someone else or from somewhere else or from something external. It comes from a version of you that is the ultimate, the healed, the refined, most refined aspect of you, your own self as the divine. Pedro says, you're not supposed to bite people. You hit them with your elbow. Thank you, Pedro. Pedro, you are such a wise person. Thank you for being in this class. And also, I think that what we're supposed to do is we're supposed to like mash up our food with our elbows. So like, mash up the potatoes like this, so that way we don't have to wear down our teeth with all this mashing. You're fantastic, Pedro. Thank you. Eleanor says, I've come to the point that I'm totally skeptical of reading about UFOs, aliens, because we are so inundated with false information. Grateful that you share what you actually know is true with us. Eleanor, thank you for your skepticism. I think that it's well placed because we also live in a time where all of this is unsubstantiated. So imagine being like financially illiterate and someone says to you like, yeah, I'll sell you this, it's $5. Okay, we just did a fair trade, everything's fine. And if you can't actually look into the accounting, you don't know if that is fair. This is what is going on right now with everything that humans are being taught about life and death, about spirituality, about your place in the cosmos, about how time works, about how consciousness works, about what aliens are. Think about there's religious inculcation and all the other spiritual, teachings about basic things about like, where did you come from? How did you come into existence? What is life? What is death? And what are you supposed to do here? Those basic questions. And in terms of being exploited through ignorance, that if humans don't know those basic things, and then all of the other synthetic mind control that is happening. Well, what's supposed, let me talk in utopian fantasy world. What's supposed to happen is that each one of us plays the love tone, gets their inner faculties awakened, looks through the inner telescope at the world, learns all about the world, learn who you are, and learn and grow. right? That's what's supposed to happen. What is happening instead is that there is other information that is coming in, not merely through your own divine telescope, but through synthetic telepathy. This is actually like level 2 stuff. I could do a separate recording, or I could just osmosis on in if you want to just osmosis. It's about a smudge on the lens at this level of reality. That has been the anatomical challenge that all of humanity is facing. Perhaps I'll just talk about it here instead of doing a separate recording, because this is going rather long. Yes, this is level 2 stuff now. That there's an actual assault on all of our senses. Just like if from the moment you were born, someone put eye drops in your eyes so you couldn't actually see clearly. They do this on Earth. As soon as you get here, they put eye drops in your eyes so you can't see clearly. But in this case, it is your inner eye. That the inner eye is immediately infested or like smudged up with this whole story of the journey of Jesus and the story of the Christian religion. And I'm never here to make fun of or mock or deride anybody who's Christian or a person who has a faith or anything like that, but I'm here to give a critique of what I see as the aspects of that teaching that are unhealthy and that are not leading towards eternal life or being aligned with the source of your divinity, or being able to become self-empowered and become self-sufficient in all these things that I'm talking about. In order to see your own chakras and heal your own body, you have to have your own higher faculties on board, basically, awakened, calibrated. You actually become a part of Christ. You're not separate from Christ. And you're not like a sheep that's been saved, where it's like, you passed the audition, you're good enough, like come be part of heaven, but you're still like some stupid thing that doesn't know anything. You get to become empowered. You get to become an organ in the body of this larger being called Christ. And again, I'm not here in this class to preach to anyone at all. Like I would encourage everyone to have their own belief system and have it be based on your own perception. But the problem with humanity is that it's like anatomically, if everybody who comes here has the same anatomical flaw, it's like nobody gets to see clearly. So there was an intentional smudge placed on the lens so that when humans start to awaken their higher faculties, instead of connecting to true Christ consciousness, like the true note that is there, to hear a slightly distorted note that includes the anthropomorphic story of a man named Jesus who lived in Judea, who had these things happen to him and was eventually violently killed. And that all of that narrative to me has nothing to do with Christ consciousness. What I've been telling you about the anatomical structuring of your chakras has everything to do with Christ consciousness. This has nothing to do with having a beard, whether you have a beard or whether you have sandals, or whether you have a lot of money in the bank or have no money in the bank. That's a big one, because there's a lot of there's teachings from, we'll just call it Catholicism, just like the Christian church, Catholicism or whatever. There's all of these teachings that are about the nobility of suffering and the nobility of poverty. And I find that all of that is unhealthy social engineering that has literally nothing at all to do with the healthy functioning of your chakras. So earlier in this class, a student asked about the connection between heart and brain, or essentially mind and perception and heart, unconditional love. And this force field of unconditional love is what holds our insight in a healthy format. It's what gives that gyrostabilizing effect, a lot of unconditional love. And if there's not the unconditional love there, then the information that comes from the inside, it is not nourished. It destabilizes the entire system instead of stabilizing the entire system. So here's how it's supposed to work. Gain through mindfulness and meditation this very strong platform of unconditional love and naturally awaken your higher faculties, including the Great Librarian, which puts you on this network of consciousness that is Christ consciousness. And then the more that you see through your inner telescope, the more it strengthens your love. That's when you're doing it right. When the things that you learn in the University of the Universe make you even more loving. They add to your momentum. They make you spin even faster as opposed to slowing you down. And a lot of our journey right now, I would encourage you to start thinking of it as momentum, having inner momentum. So inner momentum, this would be like on a creative project. That could be like enthusiasm to do something. Woohoo, I can't wait to wake up and make this painting or do this job that I have to do. I have a lot of inner momentum. You're spinning very fast on that. What's another form of inner momentum is, so enthusiasm for a creative project is a good one. Like when you want to do something, when you feel motivated to do it, or feeling just generally like happy and motivated in your life. Oh, someone's coming in. Lack of momentum. That's like when you talk with someone in a conversation and you feel them drawing your life force energy and you feel less happy, less inspired, and more bored. When you are bored, you are feeling your energy momentum going down. So I joke with you guys in this class about me and my little dog. Come here, come on up, there you go, come on up, there you go. Having to sit in the post office, that we feel the life force energy. Come on up, girl. We feel it melting away as we're trying to be, I'm trying to get my momentum going faster, right? And instead, I'm sitting in the post office. I got fluorescent lights. It's very drab. It's very boring. It's not very much fun at all. Like, what are things that make your momentum go faster? Your inner momentum of your chakras spinning. What makes you go faster? Joy, happiness, playfulness, lightheartedness. That's why I structure my class in this way. When I, get lighthearted or silly or whatever like that, I'm trying to be the antithesis of boring. When you are bored, you're literally feeling your energy that was going very, very, very fast is slowing down and slowing down and slowing down. So sometimes it's a conversation with a person. I often feel bored in conversations with people because most people are moving at a very slow, energetic, metabolic rate. And as I'm talking with them, I'm like, wow, I feel my rate slowing down. I'm getting so bored. I'm like, I gotta get out of here. And a lot of the time, Cheeky is the person that saves me because she's interested in going too. So I'm just like, oh, sorry, my dog wants to go. We gotta keep walking. Sorry, bye. Or how about going to a place? Like going to shop at some of these big stores that are in the local city. I go there to save money, but as I go into the big store, I'm like, I feel my life force energy draining away. This is so boring. Like, get me out of here. I just came here to save $2 on butter, but it's like you save $2 on butter, but then your life force energy drains away. It is a very different feeling to me than if I do something like go shopping at the local farmer's market where I'm outside, I'm in nature, there's a lot of beautiful, flowers and fun people walking around, and shopping becomes a much more joyful, joyous experience. But the butter is much more expensive, which is why you go to the low energy place to try to save $2. You got it. This is also very much like the traps of our world. That a lot of times what motivates us in terms of money is different than what motivates us in terms of energy. There are some things that will help you save money or are inexpensive in terms of money, but are expensive in terms of energy or consciousness or joy. Think about things that you do to save money or buy something cheap, but the feeling that you get when you're there is feeling bored or like, get me out of here, or like you're like, feel like you're dying inside, like, I can't take this. Too many things, including the idea of working or something like that. I'm sorry, I went a bit far afield. So there are challenges when humans begin to raise their energy to this level of insight. There are foundation flaws. Like, imagine if you have a crystal that is supposed to have energy that goes through it perfectly. Here's my little crystal. Sorry. Here's like a little crystal and it's supposed to make beautiful rainbows, but imagine if someone smashed it with a hammer. And then half of it, when light goes through it, it makes the beautiful rainbows, but the other half of it, when light goes through it, it doesn't make a beautiful prismatic effect at all. This is what is happening with humanity due to a malformation at this level of insight. The chakra itself is malformed generally, and that means that the light of awareness that is coming from the sun and the stars, as it comes through that crystal, there are foundation flaws. And so some of the foundation flaws are the idea that you need an external savior, that death is necessary for then or some kind of rectification and rebirth. Like Jesus died on the cross, suffered, it was for a purpose, and then he rose up, and that's what all of us are going to do. That's the idea. And so that programs in the sense that it is necessary to first hit the membrane of death by flying at an angle, then have some savior or rectification experience that then will make you somehow perfectly in alignment and at this destination point. And like, that doesn't make sense just in terms of a map. If I told you, well, if you want to go drive here, don't just drive on this road like this. First drive on this road like this, then somehow you're going to magically end up here. None of that makes sense. So that is what I'm trying to say, not, making fun of anybody's religion, because having a religion or a faith or looking for something higher is noble and beautiful and good. And when I first came here, I came here through this Christ consciousness experience and the experience of avoiding death and having flying rainbow lasagna instead of death. And I found Christian churches and read a lot of Christian writings in, at first, great enthusiasm, because I thought that I had connected with, my people, that I had connected with the larger organism that I was connected to. I thought that that's what it was on Earth. And it was only after further experience and research that I found out that it was distorted. I connected with something that was distorted or diminished or slightly less than what it was supposed to be. But if you think about what Christianity and the Christian church network is supposed to be, humans are supposed to be helping one another as family. Like, that's such a loaded word. How could you even say that? Like, as members of the same biological organism. Like, I want my shoulder to be healthy. I want my knee to be healthy. I want my mouth to be healthy. I want my whole entire body to be healthy because it's all me. So there's this sense in the Christian world of church networks where you say, if I identify with all of you are me, I want to help you. Because I want to make sure none of you are like starving or dead or anything like that. I want to make sure that all of these things that I identify as me are healthy and, doing well. And I think that is, it's noble and good and right to do that. But there are other things about like how you determine like who do you help, who do you not help? Like there are ostracization, the necessity of suffering, and the necessity of poverty. Wait. That is what I really wanted to emphasize. The idea that there's a story that a man lived in Judea and that he lived a very simple life, and that because of that, you also should live a very simple life. If he had one bathrobe, then you should also only wear one bathrobe. Like, what do we call when someone goes crazy in this world? Someone goes crazy. They get their energy up to here and they say, I'm Jesus. And they start walking around wearing a bathrobe, right? What happens, in my understanding, is that they've raised their energy and awakened their higher faculties. But they hit the snag. They didn't get to the real meat and potatoes. They didn't get to the real true connection to Christ consciousness, which would be in the ideal, anatomical utopian world that I draw. Instead, they connected with something that was a diminished lesser called false astral Jesus, like an occupier of the interstice or an imposter, a fake Elvis, that stands out there and says, I'm Jesus, I'm this person, I'm this thing. And a lot of it has to do with the culture, the culturalization, what we've been taught during our lives. What you're taught during your life has a very great impact on how you experience and perceive the supernatural. So if you are taught to expect certain things when you go into a supernatural or non-earthly experience, you will see whatever, you will see Jesus or you will see Krishna. It is dependent upon what you will see, as your expectation is largely dependent upon your cultural programming. And so that is very big. The cultural programming of expectation that has been placed on many people, that when they reach this level of personal fulfillment, that they identify themselves as a bearded man from Judea, whether that is an actual historical figure or whether it is a fictional manufactured persona, does not matter. That is immaterial. But the idea is the identification with that, instead of achieving connection with Christ consciousness and saying, whatever you are, that is Christ consciousness. That's what it's supposed to be. What we're supposed to be experiencing is that like a composite eye. So a composite eye, here I'll draw it out for you, is like what happens with an insect, where you have, here, go to this thing. Let's draw. Draw. This will work. Yes. Composite eye. No, nothing is working. I can't even deal with stuff. Just go back. I can't deal with technology. I will just describe it for you. In our eye, we have a lens, and we have a iris, little pinpoint through which light comes. We have one lens, but an insect has a composite eye. So it's very different. It has many, many multiple facets, like this crystal. And all of the facets create a slightly different viewpoint of reality. And even a tiny insect has so much capacity in its mind and its brain, because it knits together all of these slightly unique perspectives of the multiple facets of its composite eye to create a unified vision of reality. And that is what my understanding of each one of us as individuals becoming a part of Christ consciousness is, that there is a larger metabolic being that has a composite viewpoint, multifaceted, and each one of our lives is one facet of that larger being. And when you awaken to your own higher faculties, you become aware or cognizant that you're a facet. If you don't awaken to your higher faculties, you're still a facet. but you're just like a dead zone. You're just like blocked out. So imagine like a person who has some macular degeneration. It means in their retina, they've got areas where they can see clearly, but areas where they cannot see anything clearly. They've got blind spots. That's what it is like in the world right now. There are some people who are bright sparks, who are awakened, who know who and what they are, and they have their higher faculties awakened. Those are, facets of self that can see clearly and know who and what they are. And their behavior then is generated from an area of truthfulness and appropriateness. Like you're willing to do certain things and behave in certain ways because you see your context, yourself in context accurately. The beings who are not awakened, who are like dead zones on here, they don't understand that they're connected to this whole big giant thing. And so they're acting as if they're only lone individuals, not understanding how their behavior affects other people. So that's the idea, that I thought that the physical churches of, like Catholicism or something like that, were a network of humans helping one another and nourishing one another in the same way that the awakened facets of self would be helping one another. I didn't understand about all the teachings. I didn't understand about all the distortions. So it took a long time for me to understand all of those and to distance myself from that. But, I wear this symbol because I know that Christ consciousness is real. And I hope that you guys at this point can sense my authenticity and my integrity, and you know who I am, that I'm not some, bloodthirsty thing that is here to, eat your face and enslave humanity, which is, I think, where the origin of some of these other religions came from, that it was meant as a disempowerment. It was meant to make humans hit the membrane of death and enter into, areas that you shouldn't enter into in the time, to send you to bad neighborhoods. I think that's what that religion is all about. So yes, I would encourage you to have a faith and to know that there is something real, and to know that God is very real and Christ consciousness is very real, but avoiding the flawed teachings of the physical church in this world, which I think is pure social engineering and for very unhealthy purposes. Jackie says, beings who have mastered consciousness use that mastery to travel. That is exactly right. That's what I was saying in your response to point A to point B. Completely. You got it. There's no reason to walk across the room. If you have mastered consciousness, if you have mastered travel, then you can just pop in and out wherever you want to pop. Charles says, UFOs equals us finding ourselves. Beautiful. I love it. Yes, thank you. That's actually the first time I've heard that. That is really good. If you made that up, I think you should make a t-shirt, because I think a lot of people could certainly use about that. And, of the people that I know who are enamored of UFOs or who go to UFO experiences or UFO conferences or something like that, I see very much that they're on a journey of self-exploration and self-discovery. And I will also tell you that, as an artist, in reality is a self-portrait. And this is not some law of attraction type of thing. I'm not telling you, like, if you have cancer, it's because you're evil and you deserve it. No. But I am saying that the world around us is very much an externalization of our own internal world, including events, including other people. I recognize that this world is, very much an expression of my own, inner artistry, including the bizarreness, including the, strangeness, and like the idea of a reality star becoming president, like that is very bizarre, and yet that's something like I think that is very strange. I'm not trying to take personal responsibility for President Trump being president, but I'm saying, like, this is a very strange lucid dream, and I understand that a great deal of it emerges from my mind. Like, I'm part of what made that happen. Very interesting, but it's a collective dream too. I'm trying to say, if this world feels like a strange, lucid dream, it is, and becomes more so all the time. This is a good question. Wait. Eleanor says, can we zero point with our healed self? I think that is a good way of putting it. When you fly your lasagna with your healed self, you are overlapping at the 0 point right here, the presence of everything. So you experience that, and your healed self experiences that, and you can take all of the genetic template, consciousness template of events from that version of self and apply it to you. So let's say the version of me that, whatever, in 400 years, who and what will I be in 400 years? Let's say I have the phone and I can call myself now, and I can give myself whatever information or inspiration or nourishment is necessary for me to actually become that version of self in 400 years. That is how I would look at it. The sense of giving you guidance, ideas, inspiration, and nourishment so you actually stay alive and transform into the true version of you who you are supposed to be. Pedro says, is everyone's love tone the same, or is each one like a different note? Thank you. That's a really good question. The love tone is the love tone. That is like, or, you know, we are, sorry, wrong one. We have to develop some like, what would we call it? Like you have to establish things at the foundation. You have to say, if we're all going to play like that's a C, that's it. And you can jazz around, do what you want to do with it, as long as we all agree that that's a C. So yeah, the love tone is like a constant, or something that is established. Because I told you, it's like being on the beat in the music. So that is like the metronome. What you're supposed, the rate you're supposed to be moving at, click, 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 and that is not personal to you. You're supposed to match up with that rate. Everyone is supposed to match up with that rate. That is the love tone. So my consciousness collective, people often ask me, you know, what it is like, where do I come from? What is it like? We are many, many musicians, and we use, I say, love is like the gas that makes the car go. That love is the tone. We're all playing the same love tone. It's not like my love tone is this, but your love tone is this, but this guy's love tone is this. No, everybody is calibrated so that everybody's playing the same love tone. You might be doing it with your own individual apparatus, like an A in a piccolo is different than an A in a tuba, but they all fit together. It's a really good question. Thank you for that. Richard says, can we protect ourselves from 5G with the Merkaba and or the FRL? I would say don't count on it. Even though we're in a 5G world right now, I think everybody just has to accept and understand that, like, it's on in certain localities, but it is affecting us everywhere. So it's on in Las Vegas, it's on in Sacramento, it's on in areas of Los Angeles. I'm 2 hours away from Los Angeles, but I just act and understand that it's affecting me here, and I see that it's affecting people's behavior. You can tell I drink out of my shungite mug. I do shungite topically and internally. I do all these different things. There's shungite, there's orgonite, there's EMF protective fabrics. None of this is actually adequate to be protecting us fully from 5G. You know, I'm a super strong person, and I have a very good momentum of Merkaba around me, and I've been here for 18 years and built a lot of muscles. I am finding it challenging to maintain the clarity of my own thoughts and my own volition and my own willpower. And here's an example of what I mean when I say this. In the morning, I wake up and I'm drinking my coffee, and look at the Google News so I know what are the general, like, what is everyone agreeing with is the news of the day. And as I read an article, sometimes the information, it's like masked. Just like there can be a hologram projection on a mountain or a projection on the moon so that your eye cannot see the true thing. There are conscious projections on articles. Like, I want to read this article, you know, whatever. Man's face is bitten off by alligator. In Florida, man's face is bitten by alligator. Good, I want to read that while I drink my coffee. And I click on the article, and I'm like, I'm trying to focus on this, but I just can't focus on any of the details. Oh, well, it's boring. On to the next article. That article had like a glamour or like a shield or like a wobbling thing in front of it that made it so that I couldn't effectively pay attention to it. And that's 5G. And so even though I'm trying to focus on Florida man and his alligator face, I couldn't do it. And I see it happening to me, and I'm super strong. And mostly it is not Florida man articles. Mostly those are unimpeded and stuff that's stupid, celebrity boob jobs and stuff like that. Mostly what they don't allow me to focus on are things that are articles about political machinations that they don't want anyone, the powers that be and the status quo do not want anyone to be able to focus on. So and that's on the Google News. So I watch that, I look at that, and what I do actually is assess where have there been black magic or dark magic spells placed around which items, which topics today. So if it's like so-and-so politician is experiencing huge political scandal, and I try to read that, but it's like I can't focus on it, and it's in the periphery, and it keeps on moving away. I'm like, oh, they're clearly trying to protect that guy. Or if the article says, this politician is a horrible guy, but I look at it, and instead I look at their face, and I think, oh, he looks like a nice guy, and then I read the title, and it says, well, is actually a horrible guy. I understand that there is a mind control spell that's been placed in front of that article that is affecting my perception. So, you know, I'm adept enough to see that this is happening, and I'm strong enough to fight against it. And then what I also do is I seek out correct articles that actually give the real information. Like I go to alternative sources that then give me the real information that do not have mind control spells placed upon them, so I know what's actually going on. All of this to say that the dangers of 5G, there's cellular dangers, right? You'd be like, okay, like I'll drink the right stuff and I'll eat the right stuff and I won't get cancer. That's awesome. But at this moment, survival is not just based upon avoiding cancer. At this moment, survival is also based upon thinking the right thoughts. And it's not fair to think the right thoughts. I want to play this note, but something else is literally pushing my finger away from that note and making me play this note instead. That's not the right note. That's not the note that I wanted to play. That's not the thought I wanted to think with my mind. So I'm finding that 5G and the technological mind interference is affecting me, even though I do everything I can to not be affected and fight against it. And I don't see this as stopping. I only see this as turning up in intensity, which is why I encourage everyone to dance like a flying rainbow lasagna immediately. Do your metamorphosis now. Do this now. Don't say, I'm going to wait until next week. It gets harder next week. And not that I want to pressure everyone, but you know what I'm talking about. No, this does not get easier the longer it goes on. This does not get easier because the more and more people are being vaccinated every day. More and more people are getting 5G every day. 5G is being turned on louder and stronger and amplified more every day. It doesn't get easier as this goes on. Do it now. Do it now while you still can. Yeah, and I also say this because, oh my God, like there's people who actually think like 5G is going to be our friend. Chemtrails are now vitamins. Like, no, that is horrible. And I hope that you can see that that's the perfect example of mind control that is happening right now. Like, they actually put a spell on you to try to make you think that chemtrails are vitamins. Someone actually believes that out there. Some poor person actually believes that. Not only one, many. I've seen them on the internet. Ines says, Dear Aurora, because of the critical situation on our planet now, you came here to contribute to the human transformational forces. What a blessing for us. Ines, thank you very much for that. Thank you. It feels really good to be recognized, and I appreciate that so much. I've been working here for a long time, and of course, you know, the motivations are like long-term. It is like getting a cup of Gatorade. When you recognize that that's what I'm here doing, that is exactly right. And thank you very much for seeing that. Pedro says, I've had a problem with the Christ story about the multiplying of the fish. He does it, but doesn't tell us how to do it. Yeah, so I think that some of those things, like the idea of miracles or walking on water or multiplying fish or turning water into wine, I think that those are all about the capacity to affect perception. That all of those things can be understood as the affecting of the perception of the viewers that are experiencing it. And now we're getting into other things of like a mind-created realm, or what is real reality, and the things that are being used to exploit and harm humanity, but that can actually be used for like magical party tricks that can actually be used to uplift us instead of just to harm or diminish us. Oh, thank you, Charles was enjoying my energy. Thank you very much. Sharon says, no wonder I feel tired. My husband quotes the price of everything we ate together. Oh, very good. So Charles, you were saying that you find my energy refreshing. Thank you. Okay, so you're totally getting it. All right, my energy metabolism is moving really, really super fast. Let's say my energy metabolism is moving 100 miles an hour. So yeah, when you guys hang out with me, it's like, wow, that's moving 100 miles an hour. You're probably getting energy from hanging out with me. That's the whole point. And then a lot of people, their energy momentum is moving at like 10 miles an hour. So some people, if you hang out with them, you're like, oh my God, I'm so bored. Get me out of here. My life force energy is dripping away. And not to turn this into this type of a thing, but I had a friend back in Woodstock who always believed that he got high. He wouldn't get high if he smoked a joint alone. But if he smoked a joint with someone else or with a group of other people, he felt like he got high. And I think maybe that guy was only moving at 10 miles an hour, and that he didn't want to do, smoking a joint on his own because he had so little momentum. He needed to get like momentum and energy from just like being around other people. That's how I kind of, interpret that. And then Sharon's comment, very funny, about feeling like you get so tired, like your life force is draining away when your husband is focusing on things like the mundanities, like the price, like something, and like it can be important to manage your money, and I'm definitely focused on my money sometimes, but not to the point of diminishing being in the moment and the joy and the momentum of what you have going on. Definitely, something when I'm making a painting, I'm not thinking like, oh my God, this pencil cost $1.10, and every time I sharpen my pencil, I'm spending 18 cents. Like, I can't think that way when I'm making a painting, and I would encourage you not to also. Plugin says, can you meet all the aspects of yourself through past life regression? I would say you can meet all the aspects of yourself, but not through past life regression. because it's not past life, it is concurrent life. And although this might be confusing, or it might require like yoga of the perception, we're living all of our lives concurrently. And I'm hugely skeptical of the hypnosis, quantum hypnosis, past life regression. I think that a lot of when people are doing that they are like fantasizing or making up something from their ego sense, not perceiving truly who they are and who they have been. So in terms of past life regression, what I say to everyone is, you have literally been everyone, literally, and you literally will be everyone. There's a question about what order or how you are experiencing these, or where you are in the trajectory. But I think that's the basic answer. Very good. That is so interesting, Ines. Thank you. Thank you for that. She was noticing some changes about Chiki's consciousness and her behavior. I would agree completely with what you're saying. She's very polite because it's off topic. She didn't want to disturb us with that. But I think it's very truthful. Yeah, definitely. You know, my dog has absolutely changed and transformed since I adopted her. Since I had her too. She's been almost 2 years. She's changed behaviorally. She's lasagnaed a lot. It's not just the adjustments that an adopted dog goes through. She's definitely leveled up an enormous amount in terms of consciousness. And she has helped me tremendously in terms of, neurological problems and things like that. That's why I say, don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help. But my help sometimes comes from a dog, not only, like dogs can fill in the blank. Dogs can be helpers and healers too, as much as humans can. It's really interesting. Thank you for that. Eleanor says, conversation with the walk-in, all about where you come from. Please tell your students it's coming out soon. Thank you. Okay, so thank you for that, Ellie. So I had conversations with Ellie, some questions and wonderments that she's had that I recorded and have compiled into a series that I'm about to upload. I just have to administrate a little bit of the video stuff and read through a few things. That I answered a lot of questions that I don't, in this class, I usually speak empirically and with diagrams about energy. And there were a lot of questions that she had that were based about the anthropomorphic journey and things that I could answer more descriptively. And so, we had several sessions, but I think there's about 5, and there's different topics. So what I'm going to do is upload them as an on-demand series. And the only thing that has been, I have to just, whatever has been slowing me down, I just have to organize the descriptions of each video in order to say the topics that are covered, so that a person knows, roughly what each video is going to be about. But that is what's coming up. And that's what a lot of these questions, that you guys ask in the chat, and I start to answer in this way, there's a lot of information in that sense. So yeah, that's coming up. It's going to be an on-demand series very soon. Thank you. Thank you for that encouragement. Thank you for the, we're giving you what is it called? Foreshadowing. Something's coming. Something good is coming. I also probably need more water. Ines says, there are technical solutions available against 5G here in Germany. There are cell communication devices that keep your spinning high that 5G cannot penetrate through. Sometimes we need a bit of help of technology on our journey. The equipment is available globally now. Well, that's good to know. I certainly would hope for that. Oh, yeah, and someone wanted to know if that's yes. That is actually, I'll grab it for you if you want to see it. Oh, okay, very good. I usually have it up because it's very sunny this time of day, and it makes it very hot, even though with the lights and the equipment and everything, it gets very hot in here. But yes, this is available on my site, and it is printed with imagery from one of my paintings right back there, and there's other clothing that matches it too. This is the very large, I think it's called whatever, sets. I'm trying to remember what my listing is. Whatever, it's a very large scarf. So, I do these things like this because I want these imagery to be available in people's homes, even if you can't afford an original painting, which might be beyond your budget. I paint these paintings and share this imagery because it's supposed to be it gives you a food, it gives you a good feeling, it gives you guidance in the direction that you want to travel in terms of consciousness. And that's the idea. All these things that we've been talking about in terms of momentum and religion and, how you feel when you're with people. It's that's the journey. The words do not portray what I'm trying to say. Our journey is a journey of energy and consciousness, and it gives us a feeling. All the things that we've spoken about in these roughly 2 hours have been about things that give us the good feelings, the good energy to go in the direction that we want. gaining momentum. And these patterns and being surrounded by them, to me, that helps me have more momentum. Yeah. So I'm here in my studio, I'm always surrounded by them. And I realize that for other people, like, you don't get that food all the time. So if I make something like scarves or things that are more affordable and available, clothing that you wear, something all the time that you look at, then you get that sense of uplift and information and momentum that can come from being surrounded by these paintings and imagery. That's why I do it. I will just tell you, the motivation for me to make these paintings and do them is because for most of the time, for most of my day, when I'm not doing a video like this, I'm bent over here, like totally immersed in this, or sitting on the couch looking at all of these things that are here. I'm immersed in this world. And I find it to be a healthy and benevolent world. And I want to share the ideas of what that world is and give other people the experience also of being there, being immersed in that place. Oh, this is very good. Pedro says, I've seen the news that show the Putis losing more and more power and influence, but they're going after the children now. They seem very desperate. I agree with you. There are aspects that are very quite gratifying. If you're like, looking at things like pedophile rings that are being busted up, or politicians that are being found to be corrupt or have child pornography in their homes, and then they're actually being prosecuted. Like, these are stories that we never used to hear before. It does seem very positive, but then also I would say I sense that it's like the very end of a chess game where it's kind of like, this piece is threatened, you only have this move to make, it's the only thing you can do. That's how I kind of feel like the Putis, the profoundly evil ones, like they've lost, they know that they've lost, but they're just like taking their time to play out the crapola and see how many of your pieces they can possibly get. So it's like, how many more children can possibly be vaccine damaged in the last few moments of this battle? How many more people can just be, harmed with, some pollutant? Yeah, they do seem very desperate. The success is inevitable, but it's just like, oh my God, how much longer is it going to take until we actually can have fun? Because I'm very bored with having to do laundry and clean up muddy footprints. I actually just want to get to the fun creativity part. And Rainbow says, get off the grid as much as you can, as much as possible. I live part-time with no cell service, better than any other tech. Also, at least an hour of seated meditation per day in the forest with no Wi-Fi, Oregon. That's good. I think that it is important for a lot of people to get away from technology and to be able to reconnect in nature. And it depends on where you live. Like, my town is not that bad, but I live in a place that is, relatively far away. I hate going to the nearby city where you can save $2 on butter, because it's totally full of Wi-Fi and full of 5G and full of 5G zombies. And it feels terrible to go down there. So I save $2 on butter, but I lose a lot in terms of my energy. Yeah, and Ines is agreeing that is the ultimate solution. That is definitely good. And another thing, if I'm not using my cell phone, I not only turn it off, I have a little protective Faraday pouch. I put in the Faraday pouch. There's all these things that you can do. Understand that you're building wonderful muscles by being here and having to endure all of this. But also, we shouldn't have to endure. This is just like saying, imagine some child that grows up, in a coal mine and you're encrusted with filth, but you manage to survive and you grow to adulthood. Like, you're not supposed to have to grow up encrusted in filth. And that's what I feel like these frequency, pollutants are. We are not supposed to have to be like children who are growing and gestating and being born amidst these horrible pollutions. Yet we do anyway, but it ain't the way it's supposed to be. It ain't right. Shungai on the phone, yes, anything that you can possibly do. And, Shungai internally. All right, so this is a very long broadcast. This is over 2 hours for my upload, and it's definitely including level 1 and level 2. If there are any more questions, I'm happy to do that. If not, I'll end the recording. Here we go. Pedro says, is the Faraday cage good to protect us from 5G? Not to mention that I will also use the Merkaba. Yes. So you could create a physical blockade. 5G actually does not penetrate physical stuff very well. Like, if you live in a house that is made out of plaster that has chicken wire, like the way that you build a plaster, you've got like the wall, chicken wire, and then plaster on the outside. There are some old houses that are finding that the Wi-Fi and 5G can't get through because the walls you have the chicken wire in there. So yes, there are many physical barriers that you can do. There is EMF protected paint. There is EMF protected fabric that you can make into curtains. there's a whole industry of this, and I'm not even an expert on that. I would say, talk to an expert and figure out what you can afford and what you can do. There are very many physical things you can do. I mean, some of the basic things you can do in your own house about removing a router, using a cable, being hardwired instead of using Wi-Fi. But of course, if your neighbors are using Wi-Fi and if you live in a 5G area, it's way, way worse. I will tell you this, if you live in one of these places like San Francisco, they're putting 5G on the second story of some of these masts that might be like a street light or something like that. It's totally outside of your control, but it could be right outside of your bedroom. Like if that happened, that is like a pollutant that you cannot live with. That is not something I would accept. And if they're trying to do it in your neighborhood, definitely fight against it. But yeah, I would say you would have to move away from that. It's horrible. Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much. Eleanor says, may all the energy you're giving us be multiplied 1,000-fold back to you. Thank you very much for that. I graciously appreciate that. Thank you. And Sharon says, is the inside of a microwave oven a Faraday cage for the phone? Yes, as a makeshift Faraday cage, what you can do is take an unplugged, non-functional microwave and just stick your phone inside of there. Also, be aware that almost every single microwave oven leaks. So if someone says to you, oh, I have a really good Merkaba story to tell you guys. Okay, this is good. This is from my old house across town. Then we'll end it for today. But everybody says, oh, microwaves are perfectly safe. Oh, they're shielded. Oh, they're this, they're that, or whatever. But if you actually get one of those meters, there's plenty of videos you can research on this too. You just use one of those meters and you can see exactly how much is leaking out of it. So yeah, my old place where I lived across town was a shared house. And I am totally against microwaves. And I hate being near them. And when they're on in my energy field, I can totally sense it before I hear it physically, I know it's going on. So I was living in a house with other people. I was not in control of the entire situation. And the landlord who lived there, he loved to use his microwave and used it quite often for, preparing his meals during the day. And I lived there for, many months. And I'm like, okay, I don't really want to have this microwave me and everything like that. And I had many conversations with him. He was a scientific objective materialist, and he did not believe that there was anything wrong with the microwave, that it didn't emit anything, that it didn't harm his food in any way. And that's fine. That's the whole point of what I'm saying to you is everybody gets to make their own choices, live in their own reality, and take the burden of their own choices. So what I did was I put a Merkaba around the microwave because I'm like, I put the little Merkaba around the microwave, and I said, all of what you send out comes back to you, right? Like, this is your energy. I don't want any of your energy. You take responsibility for it. So I did that around the microwave, and it broke. The microwave stopped working. And I was kind of like, I didn't mean to break this guy's microwave, but that's just what happened. And at first I was like, inwardly celebrating. I was like, oh, good, the microwave is gone. But then he's like, oh, I got a new microwave at this garage sale. Everyone's getting rid of them so cheaply. I'm like, oh, great. So he put in a new microwave, right? Put a Merkaba around the new microwave. And what he said was, when the new one went in, I was like not very pleased about it, but I'm like, okay, that's so wonderful for you. And I put a Merkaba around it. And he said that somehow it was so much stronger than the old microwave that it was like making his breakfast boil over, is what I'm trying to say. So what I interpreted then was that the energy that had been, making it to the rest of the household was instead being Merkaba back into his breakfast. Like, take your energy back, make your own thing bubble over. So anyway, yes, the whole point of what I'm saying, forgive me if I'm a bit fatigued here, is that everybody in the world takes responsibility for what they do. What you send out comes back to you. That's Merkaba. So if this guy wants to microwave his food, that's fine. He can take the nutrient breakage. He can take carcinogens. He can take all of that. But if he's putting energy into the atmosphere that I don't want, then I don't want to be exposed to that. So put the Merkaba. All the energy comes back to him. None of it comes back to you. Ines says, my experience is total shielding is not beneficial because it prevents also the come through of good cosmic radiation. We have to strengthen our cell structure and cell communication and cell voltage to build up our own individual resistance. This is like muscle building on a cellular level. Yeah, Ines, I agree. I have heard that it is unhealthy to sleep in a Faraday cage all the time because it cuts us off from our connection to earth energy and like the signal between the sun and the earth. And I think that's truthful. So I would say long-term living inside of a Faraday cage is not an effective long-term solution, but probably short-term might be helpful to you. Yeah, I put a smart meter cover over my smart meter. I put my phone in the Faraday cage so it's not emitting all the time. I put the shungite on my router. You can do all these different things. Oh, I'm reading a private comment. Thank you so much, Eleanor. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for what you wrote, and I'm reflecting it back to you. Thank you very much. I think actually that is a perfect moment for me to end upon. I'm very tired. I need more water and for my voice. Thank you, Pedro. Love back to you. Thank you so much. No pressure on the homework, guys, too. Like literally eat as much lasagna as you can comfortably eat and digest and get back to me. Thank you, Shell. Great to see you. Thank you so much. I will give Cheeky some hugs from you. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Minnie Man. Good to see you in class today. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to end the recording for right now.